They've established Vault-Tec is a $1 trillion company in the show. They don't explain what they sell.
They don't explain what Vault-Tec sells? Literally explain that they have an exclusive contract with the government to sell vaults and vault technology. All right, guys, let's rot our brain. You voted for me to watch this video. Not really thrilled about the update. The first video that the Synthetic Man guy gave about Fallout was terrible. He seemed to just hate on it just for the sake of hating on it. He was surprisingly... it was crazy. Listen, this is my overall take of the Fallout show. I liked it. It was well written, and they added inclusivity without shoving it in people's faces, right? I feel like things like Star Wars will add inclusivity, and then they just will be lazy about the writing, and it's terrible, and it's a bad experience. This was good. The characters were all good. They were all deep, meaningful. They evolved. There was no Mary Sue. The critical drinker generally agrees, and that's somebody I do like look to and go like, oh, okay, I respect that opinion. Yeah. This guy was just racist and complained about there being a mixed marriage in it, and that was wild. But anyway, let's, if you haven't seen my first video on it, go ahead and watch it. I'll put it in the description, but let's see what the update is. Amazon's Fallout gave me brain damage. Okay. Let's see what we got here, man.
As promised, I'm back to review the rest of Season 1 of the critically acclaimed Fallout TV show.
Yeah, it was good.
Oh, I'm sure
David Goggins is a daddy, you know?
The question on some people's minds is, well, does it get better? Believe it or not,
it gets a lot better, yeah.
A little bit, in the sense that you can...
It was good from the start, though.
Turn your brain off, and if you don't care about the Fallout franchise, which is the case for most of the people who like this show, then you could just consume this mediocre slop and not really think much of it. This...
Maybe. I don't know how lore accurate it was. If this is going to be a lore video, great, but most of your criticisms were, race people or race mixing is bad. And statistically, they shouldn't have gotten divorced because statistically, black and white marriages last longer. What the fuck was watching?
This is about as superficial as an adaptation can possibly be. It has a bunch of visual references, and that's really all it takes to get normies on board with your show. You can absolutely...
Well, I think a lot of the visual references are really like for the people who enjoy the games, and it's like, oh wow, that's cool.
Take a massive dump on the lore, especially of the original games in New Vegas. That's fine because
we've played some of the first one by this time, guys. Okay, so
as most Fallout fans, if you can even call them fans, have only played Fallout 4, and so they don't care about the universe. They don't care about the characters. They don't even care about the theme. They don't even know what the theme is. People think it's about capitalism.
I think. Well, I mean, isn't that part of the theme? Maybe. I don't know. I mean, the first one is not going to be super robust in its depth of the lore. But, like, I think, well, I don't know if it's about capitalism, but it's about a greedy corporation. I don't think capitalism is bad, but, like, greedy corporations can be very bad.
The games literally tell you in the intro cutscene and the epilogue, war never changes. And
that's true.
Yet somehow, now it's about capitalism bad. But
my understanding is there was always the implication that Vault-Tec was encouraging like people to fight so they can maintain their industry of selling vaults to people. Is that not true? That's kind of the general theme, is that like, right? Which makes sense for a business. Like they're selling the end of the world, and if the end of the world stops, they can't sell anymore. So they're going to manufacture the end of the world. Isn't that what that's what literally all our media does every day. They sell the concept that the world is ending. So they sensationalize media so that we think the world is ending.
Getting a little ahead of myself. As some of you may have noticed, my last video got absolutely brigaded, more than maybe I've ever seen before, by Redditors, Discord groomers.
Just to be clear, Redditors and Discord groomers are the ones who agreed with you. Those are the incels. You had an incel take. And I don't use the word incel all the time. It's a weird thing. Okay? So, I don't know what you're talking about.
Outrage merchants on Twitter. The list goes on.
I just thought it was funny, man. It's embarrassing, some of your shit, brother.
That was probably the least organic my comment section has ever looked, ever. But if you've been watching this channel for a long time, you might be thinking, well, that's nothing too out of the ordinary. That's happened a bunch of times to this channel. Well, even reading these comments, I knew something fishy was going on. The first thing I
what's the fish, brother?
Noticed is that there were a lot of suspiciously similar comments copy-pasted in the reply
Here's the thing: over 400 video games were released in the year 2023, and only 100 of those were major releases, and those ignore them. I don't know what the fuck this is. Okay.
Chains of all the top comments in my video, and they would only ever address the same few points, whether it's the show breaking the lore or Shady Sands falling and then the nuke happening after it fell.
Let me tell you something. When I played Fallout 1, I pretty much nuked Shady Sands. I killed everybody in Shady Sands. I recruited that motherfucker, the companion, and then I killed everybody in Shady Sands. So it sounds lore accurate to me. Because there was nothing left after I was through with it.
And we'll address that later in this video. But none of those comments addressed anything I actually said in the video itself. I think the only comments talking about the video itself were people triggered about my comments regarding interracial couples. Which is funny because I didn't even give my opinion on interracial couples.
What are you talking about? You had a fucking meltdown. That Ghoul guy was married to a black woman. What do you mean? You had a fucking meltdown.
I just brought up statistics and pointed out how it's propaganda that they appear in all modern media. But
what's propaganda, bro? Have you ever jerked off to black pussy before? I wonder. Like, it's not really propaganda. That, like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't really understand. What is the propaganda? Black and white people existing together is not propaganda. Because they do. All right. I like a fat ass. You know what I'm saying, doggy? But okay, cool stuff, man.
But I guess with Redditors being proud cuckolds, literally,
bro, you're the Redditor. What?
They feel the need to defend Tyrone's honor as he plows their wife every night. The funniest one to me is there would always be a comment claiming this show doesn't break the lore.
It might break the lore, but you barely talked about the fucking lore. You complained about black and trans people the whole time.
Explaining how it doesn't, just saying.
Yeah, I know the show is confirmed canon. Yeah, sure.
That it doesn't. You know, all the nitpicks aside, I would say the biggest retcon of all is Shady Sands teleporting 200 miles across California into the heart of LA.
Who cares?
The Boneyard doesn't even exist in this show. No, Shady Sands is now in LA.
Okay, this is a real criticism. I don't think it matters too much because here's the thing. I don't know the Fallout games, and you can answer this better than me. This is from Fallout 1. I don't know how accurate this is to the current Fallout games. I imagine that there's going to be some like retcons when it comes down to it. But okay, cool. All right.
Which was not the case in Fallout 1. But to claim that it doesn't...
Well, Fallout 1 is the first Fallout. What about in Fallout 4? What does the map look like?
Break the lore when you don't even know what the lore is. That's a fucking bot, dude.
I mean, it's a game from 1997. I'm not really upset that they changed a map from 20 or 30 years ago.
The second thing I noticed is that video has way more comments than almost any video in the entire history of my channel. At the time of recording this, the video is just under 200,000.
Yeah, he like talked about IQ differences in races. Yeah.
Views and has 14,000 comments.
Okay.
For comparison, my Starfield video, which has 680,000, has 12,000 comments. And I'm sure some delusional person is going to say, well, it's just people arguing with each other.
Fallout 4 is in New England. Okay, is that the only one? Is Fallout 1 the only one in California? Is that the only game that happens in California?
But these are my videos we're talking about. People are debating each other in the comments basically every time.
Oh, it was Philly, which was just a settlement town? Oh, so they didn't even use that town. Wait. Oh, they didn't use... Yeah, they made like a new town up for them to use, right? He claimed that they changed... No, Shady Sands was still... I guess it was moved? I don't know.
I give a negative take on a modern game. No, these are bots, actual AI chat bots that are being rolled out into YouTube comment sections. And so, suspecting these were bots, I wrote a pinned comment. And of course I was inflammatory, but this is me we're talking about, so that's besides the point. But in the comment, I said, if you do not reply to one of these 3 questions posted, I will block you from this channel. And the whole point of that was to prove that you are not an AI chat bot.
Why are you responding to comments? Like, just have your shit take and move on. Like, I don't understand. I don't really understand.
And what do you think happened? Well, over 50 comments did not address any of the 3 questions in the post. And yes, some...
Why are you counting? Why are you so invested in your comment section? I don't really read my comment section. Like, I will just glance through it, but I don't respond to it because it's not worth it.
These were just retarded Zoomers.
Whoa, dude, that's very Redditor Discord grooming language.
Or millennial Redditors who are trying to throw a gotcha in.
There's 3 games in California. Okay, which games are in California?
But no, there were quite a few that are just straight up fucking chatbot responses that don't address anything in the post. My story has been corroborated.
Fallout. Okay, New Vegas. Is New Vegas in California? It says that these are the ones in California. Fallout, New California. Duh. Fallout 2. Fallout, Wasteland, and okay. So what do the maps look like?
By V, not the board, but the Romanian, who's Sargon's buddy, you might remember from back in the day.
I don't.
He also confirmed he was debating with bots on Twitter. You can check out the Archcast video reviewing the show. Their comments are full of bots. One thing I absolutely can't blame on bots, however, is the sheer number of people claiming I didn't pay attention to the first episode because
You didn't, dude. It was a fucking nightmare.
I got a bunch of plot points wrong. Every single point I got wrong is because I only watched the first episode, which I stated in the last video. Yes, the show.
You called her a Mary Sue, and which was not true based on the first episode. The problem is that you complained about the existence of a female lead and a trans person existing and a black person existing. Like, that's it. Like, the way that you just complained about dumb shit. Nobody else had those criticisms. Even people who have those general criticisms, except for you, because you can't tolerate the existence of, like, a non-fucking white people or something in a show. I don't get it. It's so weird. I don't understand.
Has this thing called plot twists. Did you want me to read a Cliff's Notes of
You should have just watched the whole show.
every episode plot before I made the review? Are people not allowed to review just the first episode of a show? Look, I know a lot of the noticers in my audience are not the least bit shocked by this and probably don't really care that much, but this is fucking huge. Astroturfing has gotten completely out of control at this point.
Right.
I've seen plenty of paid marketers on other websites, especially on Reddit and 4chan, but if now YouTube comments are just going to be flooded with bots, there's going to be no real discussion anymore. It'll be so easy to create the
Wasn't he playing Dragon Ball Z last time? Why wasn't he playing Fallout in his Fallout review? You know?
illusion of a majority opinion. And speaking of which, there were many bot comments that basically said something along the lines of, how does it feel to be in the minority opinion? If 99.9% of people think 2 + 2 = 5, does that mean they're right? No, it doesn't, you fucking idiots. Call of Duty
True, but you're wrong. So.
sells like 20 million copies a year, and we all know it's trash. I don't care if everyone likes the Fallout show. It's still garbage.
That was a very good show. It's well made, very critically acclaimed. There was very few people that had any real issues with it.
So yeah, sorry if that was a little long, but I had to get this out of the way first, just so that my viewers know that there's a very good chance you'll be debating with either bots or Redditors in bad faith who just hate me because I have controversial political opinions. There's nothing a Redditor hates more than people who can think for themselves. All right, since I have
to be clear, people are criticizing you, making fun of you. They like I find it so interesting when people have a shit take and then people criticize their shit take and then it's oh, I guess you don't like free speech because you disagree with me. It's like, no, that is what free speech is. You realize that, right? Like, that is literally what the free speech. That is the
Tell you
that is the free speech. I don't understand. Incredible.
cover 7 episodes in one video.
No, nobody said we need to cancel this guy and not let him talk anymore. People just made fun of you for being stupid. So, like, when you again, you're just saying dumb shit.
I'm going to heavily condense the plot synopsis for each episode and give my thoughts on the major details. I don't really have time to nitpick everything, and this video will be over an hour long, and I'm not going to make this over an hour long, I promise you. So feel free to point out other things you hated about the show. I'm sure there'll be plenty I don't hit in this video. Without further ado,
so many black people in it, am I right, guys?
here's the rest of Fallout Season 1. Starting off with Episode 2, we have easily the worst episode of the show. It starts off where we see an enclave.
Oh, you know what I want to say? Because people criticize something I had said, but I don't think they understood what I was saying. Now we can talk about this, okay? I didn't want to talk too much about it because I didn't think everybody watched the show. Okay. So, the first episode, this is a big issue I have with the Fallout show. It made no fucking sense to me. In the first episode, right, there was Vault 33, that's the main character vault. Vault 32 was the vault with the Raiders in it. And the Raiders got in there and they pretended that they were going to be like, hey, let's all fuck. So we're going to marry people off. And then they turned out they were Raiders. They weren't real people, and there had been a famine. And a bunch of people had died earlier. And I said, this doesn't make any sense. How did that work? People were like, well, they got the Pip Boy from the mom. So that's how they got in. I wasn't asking how they got in. I'm asking the people from Vault 33 didn't know that Vault 32, or excuse me, why the people that were planted from Vault 31, like the overseers, how come they didn't realize what happened in Vault 32? Like, they established that the computer can talk to the fucking brain guy in Vault 31. So how did, the dad, how did he not know Vault 32 went to shit? It doesn't make any sense. I understand that there were surface raiders, but it doesn't make any sense that they didn't realize that Vault 32 had been fucking extinct a while ago. It doesn't make sense that they wouldn't know who the people of Vault 32 is. And Vault 31 was the controlling camp of 32 and 33. That doesn't make sense to me. That part didn't make sense to me. You would have imagined he would have known the people that were like over there in some capacity. So I felt like that didn't make any sense to me. That was what I'm talking about. I could be wrong, but that was what I meant. It just kind of didn't make a lot of sense infrastructure-wise. They should have a better handle on what the fuck is going on, right? But then again, he was just kind of a brain guy in a vault. So, but I imagine 31, 2, and 3 were talking. I mean, they always elected somebody from 31 in Vault 33, which means I imagine the same for Vault 32. That's my issue. I was confused by that. But that would have been like a better thing to criticize. Like, hey, here's a real criticism of the show. This big plot point. I don't really care too much because the show was really good. So it's like, it's okay. But that would be a plot point worth criticizing. Right? That's a plot point that I felt like was worth criticizing a little bit.
Enclave research facility, I guess, and the one not evil Enclave scientist who spares a German Shepherd from incineration and takes it as his own. For some reason that is never explained, by the way.
Because he liked the dog.
He gets access to this extremely important artifact.
Well, he's a scientist working on this thing, so.
That is the MacGuffin that drives the entire plot of the show.
I don't think it's a MacGuffin. Hold on. It's like, what was it? It's like fucking energy, like nuclear, like cold energy. What is it called? Cold fusion or something? An object or device in a movie or book that serves merely as a trigger for the plot. I mean, I suppose. I just feel like you're saying it in a negative way. It's literally just, it's like cold fusion. Everybody wants it because it's like the power. If you have that, I think it was cold fusion, but it's infinite power is all it is. So if you have that, then you get to control like the wasteland, right? So like that makes sense. He was able to develop it and then he ran away.
And in fact, after this scene, the Enclave never shows up again in the show. Long story short, he has to escape from the facility. An auto turret shoots at him and misses every fucking shot as he's moving at 2 miles an hour. Look at how bad this looks.
Yeah, that part was like silly. That's like unfortunately like a silly part of like these like shows. Like it's like stormtrooper technology, you know what I mean?
Just remember that people actually like this show every time you see shit like this. In the next scene, we see Lucy explore the desert wasteland.
It was definitely a silly point, sure. Okay, that's a reasonable criticism.
Land of California, and the Enclave scientist finds her at night conveniently and tries to explain to her that the wasteland is an inhospitable nightmare where the creatures there have adapted to become more lethal and she needs to adapt in kind. This is one of many scenes where it shows Lucy is incredibly naive about the state of the world and she needs to become hardened to survive here.
Yeah, that's the overarching plot about her coming in.
Guess what? She never does.
Yes, she does. What are you talking about? She slowly okay. What the show is about from Lucy's perspective, it's about a person who lived a very sheltered life, who goes into a very terrible place and tries not to fully lose herself. So she does change, but not fully. She doesn't fully change into the wasteland. She's not fully corrupted by what's going on out there. It's like that's an admirable quality from her. She still maintains some of her humanity, but she does get less naive as time goes on. So, yeah.
Next scene, we're back with Maximus, and we soon learn that the knight that he's serving under is a pathetic weakling, asshole, and probably also racist.
No, what is it, Synthetic Man?
Yeah, for some reason, the genius showrunners, and Bethesda by extension, thought it was a good idea to make the Brotherhood of Steel evil, arguably the most marketable part of the Fallout universe. They made incredibly unlikable in this show.
You know, I don't know if I agree with that. Maybe that's just me, but I saw the Brotherhood of Steel as a kind of morally gray area. Personally, I didn't see them as evil necessarily. It seemed more like to me that they were a morally gray area. Maybe that was just my interpretation. Maybe I resonate. The Brotherhood of Steel resonated with me more, but I didn't see them as the bad guys. But that might just be my interpretation. But okay, I felt like they were more like morally gray. But okay.
On the one hand, it did subvert my expectations completely. On the other, it just feels like yet another way to shit.
Yeah, Fallout 4 or Brotherhood of Steel Outcasts aren't that good. Okay.
On the Fallout universe. And before some people strawman me, I'm not saying the Brotherhood of Steel unlikable in this show. On the one hand, it did subvert my expectations completely. On the other, it just feels like yet another way to shit on the Fallout universe. And before some people strawman me, I'm not saying the Brotherhood of Steel should be like Fallout 3.
Depends on the Elder. I guess that makes sense.
They're all good guy knights or whatever. I'm completely fine with the Brotherhood being xenophobic isolationists who preserve technology. I think that's great. Unfortunately, they never do that in the show. No, instead, Titus is a mega pussy. He gets taken out by a fucking Yao Guai, a guy in T60 power armor, taken out by a bear. And because he was an asshole, Maximus decides not to save him and then steals his power armor and pretends to be him. This is
I thought that was like a fun part of the show. I like that a lot.
one of many moments where Maximus is borderline evil in this show.
Yes, that's why I liked him so much. That's one of the compelling parts. You have like almost an anti-hero. Like he's an asshole. Yeah, I liked him as a character a lot.
But I guess it's okay because the guy was a racist and he looks white.
What do you? I don't understand what the fuck you're talking about. He's racist and he looks white. What racist shit are you talking about? Because they didn't like mutants? What the fuck are you talking about? What? It's hard to make this point that like, oh, you're setting... It's just hard to make this point. They're like, oh, they killed a white guy because he was bad. I don't think his whiteness had anything to do with it. It seemed that there's a lot of character actors, like Michael Rappaport, that wanted a small role, and they just used him as the role. I'm so confused. They had black bad people in that show. The Overseer of Vault 31, the newer one, was a bad guy. Or 33, excuse me. The fucking literal, like, the CEO, Black Mom, was a bad guy. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. He yelled at Maximus and now he's racist? I'm fucking confused. Can somebody explain to me? And he's not even, like, white looking. He is white. I don't know what you're talking about. Wait, hold on a second. Wait.
And then steals his power armor and pretends to be him. This is one of many moments where Maximus is borderline evil in the show. But I guess it's okay because the guy was a racist and he looks white.
I understand now. Now I know exactly what he's saying.
I do want to point out, he's not actually technically white, but...
He's Jewish! This motherfucker is anti-Semitic as fuck. The only people who separate Jews, like me, from white people are fucking Nick Fuentes, literal anti-Semitic pieces of shit who don't want to... They're white people who don't want to be associated with Jews. That's literally it. This fucking white motherfucker is telling people he's not technically white because he's Jewish. He's white. Just like there are tons of Hispanic people that are white. It's white as a fucking skin color. It's not like an ethnicity. This motherfucker's anti-Semitic. He's got to make sure he makes the separation. This guy's insane, dude. Oh my God, bro. Oh my God, this guy's fucking wild. This is so funny. He's so pathetic because I had to look it up. Like, yeah, he's an Ashkenazi Jew. This guy's just fucking hates Jews too. This is fucking crazy, bro. This guy's out of control. He's taking it to the next level. This guy, it's just funny. Like, it's not like at this point when I see people that are super racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, anti-Semitic, it's a joke to me. It's just like, oh, you're a loser. Like, what a joke. Like, holy fuck, dude. You're so embarrassing. This is fucking crazy, man. Oh, he's not technically white. He looks white. He's white. He's a fucking white Jew, bro. It's not that deep. This is fucking crazy.
I don't want to go into that. But of course,
yeah, of course not, because you hate Jews, you fucking loser.
Of course, the question is, how the hell did Titus become a knight in the first place if you earn the power armor through acts of bravery? He was a complete pussy. But no, they don't explain it.
Because not everybody is perfect. And also, they actually do kind of explain it. Right? He wasn't like... He's angry with the Brotherhood because they sent him out to find old technology. And he's like, half the time it's a fucking toaster. And this is bullshit. And I fucking hate this. So he doesn't care. He's graded. He's hateful. It kind of does make sense. You can operate some lore about how, like, maybe back in the past he was decent. Or there's some corruption in the Brotherhood because it's not perfect. So he got his way pushed to the top. I don't really know. But he was, like, very resentful of the Brotherhood because they were sending him out on dangerous missions to die to get fucking... literal toasters, and he didn't really seem to know what he was going after this time necessarily. I don't know if he knew it was a whatever, the infinite power. So, yeah, it kind of made sense to me, but I'm also wasn't looking to hate the show, which you clearly are looking to hate the show, and the existence of a Jewish person in a role really bothered you a lot.
And speaking of not explaining it, Maximus doesn't explain what happened to Titus. No, he just pretends that he died, and now he pretends to be Titus for almost the rest of the entire show. And
yes, that is exactly what happens. He does that. It doesn't ruin the show at all. And then at the end, like, he basically goes, I'll deal with it later. I'm going to pretend to be Titus, but if I get the magical cold fusion, they won't care anymore. That was his take. That was his point, and it worked out. Yeah.
there's no consequences for this, by the way. At the end, somehow the Brotherhood conveniently forgets that
they don't forget at all. At the end, what happens is whatever the Brotherhood leader's name was, respected the guy for taking what was he felt was his, right? He's like, you took that. You wanted to be a Brotherhood member. You took that. I respect that quality, and I want to build a new Brotherhood with me as the leader and you as basically my second in command. They explain it. If you don't like the explanation, that's okay. But they explained it. What are you talking about? You didn't finish the show. I don't know what else to tell you. They literally fucking explain it. But this guy's so obsessed with hating the show, he didn't really watch it and actually absorb what it was about. He can't come out of this liking the show. He's already decided that from the start.
He told them that he died and Titus lived. Oh, and this is not the only plot hole in the show. In the next scene, we're back.
That wasn't a plot hole. I brought up a plot hole, by the way, which he didn't bring up. I brought up the plot hole. This wasn't a plot hole.
Back to Lucy, and we get a scene straight out of Borderlands where some idiot is living out in the middle of nowhere with no resources, somehow surviving, and he drinks all of Lucy's water. Haha, so funny. She should stop trusting people, but she keeps doing it. Eventually,
That's not a plot hole. That's people changing slowly.
She heads over to the town of Philly that's actually located in a forest. I gotta say, this is one of the few things I kind of liked about the show. There's a settlement that isn't
Grass? Okay, cool.
out in the middle of a wasteland with no resources like Megaton. And yes, there absolutely would be forest. Not only has it been well over 200 years, which is more than enough time for the radiation to be gone, but also it's not like every inch of the country was hit with nukes. So this actually makes a lot of sense. I kind of like this.
Okay,
now, something
cool.
I really don't
I like the guy who fucked chickens. That was my favorite character.
like is that Lucy comes across this shop called Ma's Rarities.
It's a woman. Yup.
This old woman here explains to us that vault dwellers represent rich people and surface dwellers represent poor people.
Kinda, yeah. Because you had to buy your way into the vault, right? I don't listen. Maybe that's not part of the original Fallout lore, but it probably is. I mean, you guys tell me. I have a lot of Fallout fans. That's the lore. Like, hey, people were rich enough to buy their way into the vault. Poor people don't have the money to buy their way into the vault. It makes sense that they would hate them. So, like, again, is that a tone shift? I feel like there's no way that's different from the typical games. That's how the games are, right? Everybody's agreeing with me. That's how the old games are. The rich people have money and get to be able to go into the vaults, which are still science experiments in a lot of instances, and the poor people don't, and they die. That's apparently how the show is. You guys are all telling me that I'm correct. I don't think that's a hot take. I don't think Fallout deviated that hard from the original thing. I don't think that this guy knows what the fuck he's talking about.
Again, this once again proves fans of the show haven't actually played the fucking games.
I think that you haven't.
Either that or they just conveniently ignore obvious propaganda right in their fucking face. No, Vault Dwellers represent a time capsule of the 50s retro future culture.
No, I mean, what? No, but how did they get in the vault? They paid their way in. There's no way he doesn't know this. Okay. Okay, cool. Apparently he just, I don't know. I don't think that this person really knows. I don't think he knows how to, like, I don't think that he read any of the lore. I think he played the game and, like, skipped all the cutscenes. So, okay. Were there people who were I don't know. Okay. My understanding is there's some vaults that were, like, picked with not people that were rich. But again, those were some science experiments vaults. Okay.
That's why they're all so naive and friendly and neighborly, and they have to learn to survive in this inhospitable environment where everything's trying
because they're closed off from the world.
To kill you. Never at any point in any of the games is it implied that vault dwellers are rich people. The only vaults that maybe come close to that are the control vaults, and yes, it's set up that Vault 33 is a control vault, but it's not in reality. We'll get to that plot twist when it comes.
Either way, they've still had, like, very privileged, fortunate lives. They live in a vault that has basically infinite water and resources. So of course they're going to hate people. They don't struggle. Generally speaking, they don't struggle. That was what it is. I mean, obviously, like, if you had to live with a bunch of radiation being around and fucking mutants walking around and, like, a harsh lifestyle, you would hate the people that are from the vaults that literally have fucking infinite food and water and live it like have TVs and shit. So
the vast majority of vaults had horrific science experiments take place in them. I wouldn't exactly call that a haven for the rich. So of course the lady doesn't help her, but conveniently
I imagine the ones that were able to get out and roam around weren't the ones with those particular things happening, but okay.
Enclave scientist caught up with her, and he reveals that he knows all about Vault 33, and of course it turns out that he's the guy that she's looking for to find a way to get to her father. Of course, the Ghoul shows up, and we get half of a pretty cool action scene, where we get to see Walton Goggins blow away a bunch of mercs, and actually, yeah, it's pretty cool. He's got some kind of shotgun firing, I guess armor-piercing sabot rounds, and no, I'm not going to nitpick that. It's Fallout, obviously the guns aren't realistic, and Bethesda has proven time and time again, they know nothing about guns, but it looks pretty cool, I'll say that. One thing that does kind of bother me about this scene is that for some reason, ghouls are now basically immortal.
That's true. If the chip breaks, that's true. Then it's not infinite. But I think you understand what I'm saying.
Zombies. If you don't shoot them in the head, they don't die. That is a pretty big retcon, and don't try to tell me it isn't one, because it's never been established that you have to shoot them in the head. Even if you don't think gameplay is canon, which I think is just absurd, but we're not going to get into that. This is clearly a retcon. Also, in the chaos, the
maybe. I mean, I don't know. Were ghouls more durable? I think that was the point. I'm pretty sure ghouls were just a little more durable in this world. I think that was the only thing established, but
Ghoul stabs dog meat, and yes, I'll be calling the dog meat because Walton Goggins himself calls the dog meat near the end of the show, so
yep, that's a little Easter egg, I guess.
Might as well be. But don't worry, the dog doesn't die. Now this is where the episode goes to shit.
Yeah, he gives him the technology, which is a little grating for people who haven't watched the show, because it's like, oh, they have a fucking shot that basically heals you.
Again, Lucy gives this grand speech, which is pretty cringe, shoots.
You know who doesn't know about the experiments? Quite literally everybody except for the Vault Tech. Yeah, that's true. Right? It's like he's like, yeah, they're all got experimented on. Well, nobody fucking knows about that. The only people in the vaults that would be seen by the residents of, like, we'll say the Wasteland, are the ones who were able to get out. And then they see them and they're like, oh, these guys are probably doing pretty well. Like, if we go canonically, they probably saw the guy running around trying to get like a water chip a long time ago, and he was like, "Oh, this guy was," So they are not going to see the fucking science experiments people getting released. They're going to see the people that are like having a good time, that like rarely come out every once in a while. So yeah,
the Ghoul with the tranq dart. We get an admittedly pretty good line.
Well, now that is a very small drop in a very, very large bucket of drugs.
And then Maximus shows up to save the day, and they fucking turned power armor into Iron Man armor. It looks so stupid. And if you think this looks bad...
Again, I don't think it looks bad. They used practical effects. I think it's cool. Now, my understanding is that the armor can't fly in the show, so that would be a little bit of a change. But I don't think it's really ruins the show. But okay.
Just watch this, guys. Come on, that's something straight out of a Bollywood film. Not to mention Maximus...
Yeah, it looks a little rough. I appreciate the practical effects. I don't care.
This is an idiot. Why doesn't he have a gun? He had a gun in a previous scene. It didn't break. In the midst of this really shitty Marvel movie fight, the old lady grinds this metal boot onto the Enclave dude's leg, which just feels like straight shock value because it doesn't even save him, by the way. And then the...
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with that. It seemed weird. They put the leg on there, and it just grinded his leg out for some reason. I don't know why. And then he could walk on it, but it doesn't help. So I don't know why they did that. It seemed stupid. But I agree with that, sure.
Ghoul shows up in the room.
They could have just done nothing, and it would have been fine.
Gives dog meat a stim pack, and now all of a sudden they're buddies. And of course, he uses dog meat to...
That's a decent criticism. The dog was like too loyal to everybody. The dog liked everybody. It was weird. The dog, you would have thought the dog would be more aggressive. That part I can agree with. It was weird that the dog just happened to like he seemed to be in love with his original owner. And then now I mean, I guess you could argue that since this guy saved him, he was thankful, but he also stabbed you. So it seems like that one is, hey, let's have the dog follow him around because it makes sense. It makes sense why he likes dogs. Because they go into it like one of the big things that bothered him is that he had a dog he loved. He had a movie, a boy and his dog or whatever, where I think his actual dog played in the movie, and he wanted the dog to go into the vault, but they wouldn't let the dog in the vault. So that kind of bothered him a little bit, and it was a little bit of the motivation for him to be willing to investigate what was actually going on in his wife's company. But it does not. It is a little weird that the dog was just like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to be your buddy now. So yes, I understand that. That's a reasonable criticism.
Track down the Enclave guy. The episode ends back in the middle of the desert again. The Enclave dude is starting to bleed out, and so he tells Lucy to chop off his head because the thing they need is in his head. Again,
it's in his neck. You watched him inject it.
This is done purely for shock value and his idiocy. The thing in his neck does not need to be in his head to work, so they carry around a fucking rotting head.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true. You could have extracted it from his head. Sure, I guess you could have done that. So yeah, it's a little bit of shock value. I'm not bothered by it, so whatever. I don't care.
For the entire season, nobody thinks to dig the chip out of his neck. Dude, they turn Fallout into Borderlands.
Well, he would be the one to think about that. Nobody else knows that the head has like a chip in it, or at the very least exactly where it is. So it's more like it would be kind of on him to be like, hey, just dig this out of my fucking neck. Right?
You're going to see that more and more throughout this show. This is straight up fucking Borderlands cringe, unfunny garbage. And that's episode 2. I give it a 3 out of 10. The only reason it isn't even lower than that is because Walton Goggins is pretty entertaining as the Ghoul, and honestly, he only gets better from here. Everything else about this episode was awful. I feel like if you have any
I thought it was a decent episode.
Standards for television at all.
Yeah, so far, the only reasonable criticisms he has, or maybe it looks bad, but I like the way it looked. I like the practical effects. The dog being too loyal to everybody, or not being loyal enough, I guess you could say, and I guess they could have dug it out of the guy's head. But also, I don't really care about that. I don't think it was that big of a deal.
You would have stopped watching the show after this episode. It was that bad.
I think most people liked it.
Now on to episode 3. It begins with a flashback before the war, as we see more of the life of Cooper Howard before he became the Ghoul. It turns out he was in fact an actor for Westerns, and his wife is an executive at Vault Tech.
And she's black, guys. Very important plot point, okay? Because that is liberal propaganda.
It's good to see even in the alternate future of the Fallout universe, we still have diversity hires in the highest position of power.
I could take that as a joke if he wasn't racist. That could be a funny joke, but he's fucking racist. You know what I mean? So like if I made the joke, I would have thought it was funny. But like this guy, I mean, he has a meltdown about black people existing, I think in general. At least in the married. She's intelligent though. So all jokes aside, she's actually a very intelligent woman in general. So it doesn't fit that she would be she doesn't have to be a diversity hire, right? She's smart. There are smart people. There are some black people are smart. I don't know if you guys know this. Hot take. Some black people are smart. All right. But okay. Yeah, great. Let's continue.
Back in the present, we see that the Ghoul has come across the corpse of the Enclave scientist, and we get yet another huge retcon. Ghouls now have to take a special serum to avoid going feral. In the original game, the
Oh, is that not real? Okay, I guess that's a retcon.
reason why ghouls were hated, or at least were outcast from society, is because they were ticking time bombs. They could go feral at any moment. I can't remember if it's ever quite confirmed, but it's definitely suspected that extended exposure to radiation eventually rots their brain completely and they go feral. But no, now in the show, there's a special serum that they have to take periodically to avoid going feral. I know there's gonna be some idiot that's gonna say that this is not a retcon, but there were plenty of ghouls that survived over 200 years. What is it that happened in the past 15?
Is that something that's only from the show? Okay. Yeah, I guess that is I guess that's cool. I guess that's a retcon. I don't think it's bad. It provides like some kind of a limitation on his power. Okay, so the original Ghoul. So there's no game where that would happen. Okay, I mean, I guess that's a fair retcon. There you go. So they didn't need it in the other games at all. Is there any game where they actually needed the serum? Okay.
After New Vegas, that ghouls now all of a sudden have to take a serum. No, this is a fucking retcon. F15 after New Vegas, that ghouls now all of a sudden have to take a serum. No, this is a fucking retcon. After a pointless scene with Lucy, we're back to Maximus.
I don't think it would matter if they didn't announce that it was supposed to be canon, right? Like, I think that there's nothing wrong with changing it, but the fact that they said it's canon does make it inconsistent with the story. So I think I like the idea because, again, I enjoy limitations. Like, being a ghoul seems to be like very infinitely powerful compared to being a regular person. So I think it's a positive to add a limitation of like, oh, they'll go feral if they don't have a certain serum. But again, if it's not consistent, like, that's a criticism. But I think that they should have just made the show not canon and it would have been fine. And it also gives another motivation to the character. So I think it's good to do. I just like, yeah, if it's inconsistent with the lore, that would be a problem. But overall, I don't think it's bad. The rule makes sense.
And this is the scene I mentioned last episode where he lies to the Brotherhood, pretending to be Titus, and says that Maximus died. Again, there's no consequences for this. It never comes up again. After a border...
Okay, so again, you're wrong. Objectively, it comes up again, and they satisfy it reasonably, in my opinion, lore-wise. So you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Borderline pointless scene where he has to sell one of his teeth to afford repairing a part. A bunch of raiders try to steal his power armor, and he gets his ass beat, again, because he lost his gun off screen. He does manage to beat up most of them, including crushing one of their heads with the power armor, and then the Brotherhood of Steel arrives, giving
pretty badass
him a new squire. And of course, it's one of the guys who beat him up in the first scene he shows up.
Yeah, Thaddeus. I like that guy. He was fun.
And so Maximus, being one of our main protagonists, a hero we can all look up to, nearly crushes his fucking head. Dude, I couldn't believe this. Is he supposed to be a villain?
He's supposed to be morally ambiguous. There seems to be a lot of areas where this guy doesn't know how to handle gray areas. Like, Maximus is... So, first of all, the tone of the first episode is that Maximus might have shredded his friend's leg to take their position as a one of the brothers. So, when he has these, like, moral quandaries, it keeps it in tow of, like, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? We get an individual with a complicated backstory that doesn't act perfectly. That's the point. He's a morally gray character, and he turns out, in my opinion, to be more of a good guy. But, like, yeah, he was bullied relentlessly, so he's like, fuck it, I might kill this guy, and then he doesn't. Right? Not really... Like, I just don't know why you need somebody to spell out that they're a good person. Like, I don't know. People are telling me in the chat that, like, Fallout doesn't even have good and bad guys necessarily. A lot of them are, like, just kind of, they're people with their own perspective. I'm sure there are good and bad guys, but, like, a lot of times it's people with their own perspectives on the world. But okay.
Man, you can tell these guys got beat up in high school, and this is their revenge fantasy, because Maximus continues the cycle of bullying, doing exactly what Titus did to him.
Yes. Okay. I'm so confused. What do you want him to do? Like, I don't know what you would too. Like, what are you, a fucking liberal? What are you, fucking? Oh, just let it go. What are you, gay? It makes sense. But then he starts to warm up to Thaddeus because he finds out that, like, Thaddeus was getting bullied first. Then when he was a new recruit, he's like, I'm going to push the bullying onto him, hoping that Maximus would push bullying onto another person, which just didn't happen. So again, like, it adds a complexity to the characters, and it makes it like, oh, there's some of these characters are good people, but they don't do always good things.
We get back to Lucy. I'm now realizing I neglected to mention what she's actually doing. She's trying to deliver the head to the raider chick, Moldaver, whose real identity is really stupid, but we'll get to that at the end. Anyway,
she's a dirty communist.
Comes across a lake and is
and the lesbian lover of Lucy's mom. So I wonder if he's going to complain about that.
Attacked by a Gulper, which you may remember from the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4. Now, they looked completely different in that. Now they're giant pink salamanders with fingers in their mouths for some reason. This makes them seem more like an FEV mutant. Why the hell would radiation make you grow human fingers in your mouth? Whatever. Anyway, it eats the head. Of course, the Ghoul catches up with her. And
oh, I guess this is what it looks like in the other DLC. I mean, it looks somewhat similar. A different color. Okay, whatever.
Decides to use her as bait while he monologues about how ineffective torture is. This is probably the scene where I ended up liking this guy, because he's definitely a villain. I don't know if they were attempting to write...
Oh my god. Dude, this guy is legitimately fucking stupid. He's not definitely a villain. He is a very deeply conflicted character who has moral whose morals have deteriorated drastically. He's like an anti-hero. He's not supposed to be the villain. He does things that we would consider villainous. He has very little value for human life. But okay, yeah, this guy clearly needs to read lore from, like, children's books. Like, he doesn't seem to... Okay, whatever.
An anti-hero, but he's definitely not. He's a villain. But
he's definitely an anti-hero. If you watch the show, he's definitely an anti-hero. He's extraordinarily likable from the start, and we get a detailed description of his backstory, so we understand where his... and that's one of the things I like. I liked the character Lucy and the Ghoul character at the same time, regardless of how badly he was treating her, because you understood where his motivations were coming from. But okay.
He's a good villain. Walton Goggins is a great actor, and I think they were trying to go for a New Vegas vibe with the cowboy thing, but to me, it honestly feels more like a character straight out of the New Vegas Bounties mods developed by Some Guy 2000, and those are all great if you haven't played them. Despite being some of the oldest mods for New Vegas, they're still probably the best. Back at Vault 33, we get our third concurrent plot throughout the season.
Uh-oh, another Jewish guy. You gonna complain?
The mystery behind this triple vault system. I gotta say, it was actually pretty intriguing. For a while, this was my favorite part of the show. And
okay, there you go. It was good. It was interesting. I was compelling. I was on the edge of my seat. Sometimes.
And I kept watching. Big Schnoz actually turns out to be a pretty good character.
Oh my God, he's starting to like the Jews. Okay, he's coming around, guys. He's basically like Kanye West. He's like, I like Jonah Hill, so the Jews might not be that bad. Incredible.
Unfortunately, they really ruin it at the end, so I'm not
how did they ruin it at the end?
going to cover it episode by episode. We'll talk about the whole side plot when it wraps up at the end.
Okay.
After we get a scene dedicated to Maximus just abusing his bully, we get another subtle retcon. The bully implies that the Brotherhood of Steel is going to wipe out ghouls from existence. Did the writers confuse the Brotherhood with the Enclave? Killing ghouls has never been an objective of the Brotherhood. Where the hell did this come from? And don't even tell me he pulled this out his ass just because he's supposed to be a racist. Though actually, knowing these writers, maybe that's...
I'm very confused about why you keep saying he's supposed to be racist. I figured you meant against the ghouls. How is he supposed to be racist? Apparently, wait, the Brothers Steel are not welcome because of their hospitality towards ghouls. What is it? So apparently it's in Fallout games, they kill ghouls and they hate them a lot. They hate synths. They dislike ghouls. Some of them will shoot ghouls on sight. Okay. Apparently that's a bad take that he had. Okay. Great. Why are they supposed to be racist though? I don't understand.
Is exactly what they're implying, but...
So they apparently hate ghouls a lot. Okay. Incredible. I believe it.
Anyway, back to the Ghoul and Lucy. The Gulper eventually takes bite, nearly voring Lucy, but of course it gets away, and this is where another major plot hole happens. The Ghoul says Gulpers digest slowly. He then makes a joke about side quests.
Wasteland's got its own golden rule.
No, what's that?
Thou shalt get sidetracked by bullshit every goddamn time.
Ooh, wow, haha, so meta. And then he leaves to go sell Lucy's organs. I'm not making this up. That is the sequence of events.
Yeah, well, he figures the head's gone, we're fucked, but he needs to go, and he needs the special juice to stay alive, which again, apparently is a retcon, but I liked it in general. Like I said, it probably just shouldn't have been canon to the actual Fallout series, but that makes the character have multiple motivations. That's what he has to do to stay alive. It gives him a weakness, so...
Seriously have to ask at this point, if you're a real human and you like this show, did you get high before watching? Were you drinking? Did you get vaxxed 3 or 4 times? How the hell?
I'm not understanding what's the problem with what happened. The head was taken. He figures that was it for the head. It's gone now. There's nothing they could do to get it back. So he went to go sell her because he wanted to get more of his special juice. I don't understand the issue.
Could you like this show? So back to Maximus and the Squire, we get an incredibly awkward scene where Maximus gets the Squire to explain why he bullied him. But obviously, since he's still pretending to be Titus, he does it by trying to get him to say something horrible about him, and this somehow leads him to explaining that the only reason he bullied Maximus is because he himself was bullied until he showed up. And so
yeah, it was a little on the nose, but it was fine as a scene.
He just redirected the bullying to Maximus. And so it's supposed to be this big, like, oh, see, this guy's not so bad. And
yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. Yes. Most of the characters seem to be complex in this show.
So then Maximus starts treating him better. Unfortunately, this goes in a really stupid direction later, but I actually kind of like this scene. It felt much more mature than the rest of the show, but it was handled somewhat poorly. Oh, and I know I said I wasn't going to bring up the Vault 33 subplot, but I do want to point out that a black guy who I guess is an engineer.
Fuck, yeah, he's a black guy. Fucking black guy.
Here says that the water chip is broken, and they never
That's a shout out to the first game.
bring it up again. So
That's true.
was just a completely pointless reference to Fallout 1.
No, it's not. Actually, I'm gonna explain to you why. Okay, it's actually not pointless at all. I don't know. Again, you don't watch the fucking show. So there is a saying in the vault, and I forget exactly what it is, but it basically goes: when shit hits the fan, you want to vote in somebody from Vault 31. They needed shit to hit the fan so that they had another reason to justify the winning of the girl, I think her name was Donna, winning Overseer from Vault 31. Because once that happened, when the water chip was down, she was the oldest person with the most experience, and they needed a justifier to get her to win. Now, she was going to win regardless, but they needed to make sure people thought she was going to win, right? That makes sense. So that's what it comes down to. The Fallout ship, whether it is or isn't broken, is irrelevant. It is the emotions that people are invoked inside of the people of the vault that matters. Yeah, when things look glum, vote 31. Things were looking glum, vote 31. The saying, which is part of like their cultures to some extent, the fact that she was older and more mature, and the fact that she had more experience. Betty. Sorry, I said Donna. That's it. So it does make sense. Now from what I remember, they don't satisfy that. They don't reference it again after a certain point. We also don't get like a lot very far into it. So you could argue that that's an issue, but it wasn't about whether the water chip was or wasn't broken. It was about invoking an emotion into the people so that they would vote a certain way, so it would justify the false election going in her favor. That's literally it. So again, you did not watch it's like I don't think that this guy has the capacity to understand the things that he engages with. He just doesn't seem to like understand anything about the show. Yeah, I did notice Betty was the assistant to Coop. Yeah. So hey, yeah, you didn't watch. I just think that a lot of it seemed to go over this guy's head, and it's so interesting because like I criticized a little bit the moment where Thaddeus explains like the bullying, and I was like, it's a little on the nose for me, because they basically just told you in like an exposition dump. They didn't really like make it intelligent, which is fine. It can be fine. That was my little criticism. Wasn't a big deal to me. This guy liked that moment a lot. He actually liked it a lot. It was the most mature scene. This guy is autistic, but a good autist, not No, all jokes aside, this guy, sorry, that was a little inappropriate. This guy doesn't seem to appreciate intelligent, critically thinking dialogue or narratives in anything. He doesn't seem to pick up on subtleties. He doesn't seem to understand the emotions of people and then the necessity to invoke certain emotions to get certain outcomes to happen over and over again. So that's this is one of those areas where it's like, makes sense. This guy doesn't get it. He doesn't understand what he's watching. He can't see past like the surface level of a plot. He doesn't really understand like deep aspects of the plot. So this is why he watches a show and sees a black person married to a white person and goes, "Oh, this is fucking terrible." Because like he doesn't have the emotional capacity to look past that. So like when people are complaining that they're tired of like forced diversity in shows, which I'm one of them, it's fucking annoying. The reason that we're tired of it isn't because I don't like seeing black people and white people. It's because they'll make a show with tons of diversity as the selling point, and then the plot will be literal feces. And it pisses me off. It's like Star Wars. It's fucking dog shit diarrhea. They killed. Well, first, 7 wasn't too bad, but like 8 and 9 were fucking terrible. They killed the plot. It to me, it comes off as, look, we have lots of inclusivity, but our movie fucking sucks dick. That's what bothers me about it. This guy is just like black people bad. Like that's it. His head doesn't know how to like understand the actual issues that are going on, the issues that people are having. He just doesn't have a deep understanding of things. I wouldn't doubt that he doesn't even care about race issues. It's just that like he thinks people do, and he wants to fit in. Honestly, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Which is funny because if you've played Fallout 1, you know that this show completely shits all over the story with all of the retcons. You want me to name another big one? The Master, the villain of the original game who was turning people into super mutants, was finding those people from vaults, and his headquarters was located near the Boneyard. It would have been in spitting distance of Vault 33. You're telling me that he never found this vault that was out in the open, he never managed to get inside and mutate all those people into super mutants. Speaking of super mutants, there are none in this show. The West Coast canonically has intelligent super mutants, unless they all got killed by the Brotherhood of the Enclave or something. But no, they're never mentioned in this show. One of the most iconic things in the Fallout franchise isn't in the Fallout TV show.
So there's 2 reasons why that might be. One might be because canonically they all died. This is, I think, the furthest the show has ever gone. This is the furthest in timeline. 2, and this is most likely why, there's too much going on for people to get. The show had a lot for you to engage with if you were a non-Fallout fan. You have a 50 style place with incredible technology from the year 3000. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it feels. So you got like a fucking little tube retro TV, but then they have a shot that can instantaneously heal you. You have ghouls in the universe. There's particular lore behind the ghouls. You have Brotherhood members. You have raiders. You have different motivations. You have different vaults. You have overseers in the vaults. You have science experiments in these vaults. There's so much going on that for them to add Deathclaws and mutants and synths and this and everything, and then have like deep understood lore about all these in one thing, would be too much for people to like really like tack onto and go like, oh wow. So that's probably why you didn't see any ghouls or Deathclaws or anything else in the show. They kind of trimmed some of the fat because they wanted to give people a palatable experience when watching the show. And you could disagree and be like, well, that sucks. And it probably is true. But you don't want your storyline to be so cumbersome that it's not something people could absorb. It needs to be, you know, and I think that the show is also like very intelligent in some of the ways they displayed some information. So I like that. But like, you can't overburden people. That's probably why they didn't add all that in there.
Okay, enough tangents. Let's wrap up this episode. Eventually, Maximus catches up to the head. He saves his squire from being devoured alive, yanks out its guts, and now they have the head. And for the final scene, it cuts back to the Ghoul and Lucy, and to just spit in my face in particular, and all the shills who fucking lied in my first review.
Why?
The Ghoul drinks water directly in front of Lucy. And you know what's funny? In a later
I'm not understanding why that matters.
episode, he eats food too. Ghouls need water to survive. This has been established multiple times in the series, and it's now established in the show, and yet he was buried underground for years with no water or food.
Oh, you're stupid. I forgot. Okay, shit, I totally forgot this guy doesn't know how to watch things. Just to be clear, okay, this guy's honest. This guy's, it's exhausting how fucking... Okay, in the show... You showed it in your thing. I'm going to see if I can find it. You showed us in your Dragon Ball Z gameplay that when he was buried underground, he had IV bags hooked up to him to keep him alive. That's it. I don't even know if I could find it. I don't really need to find it because you all know what I'm talking about. But he had a fucking IV bags hooked up to keep him alive. So when you're like, they need food and water to live, this is ridiculous. Yeah, he had an IV bag in there that would supposedly have all the nutrients. Now, if you think that that's not enough sustenance to live for however long he was in there, which was a year, they said that too, which you didn't seem to catch, that's fine. But you literally show that they have this, and it was told that like that was being changed. Like every year, they would dig the guy up and cut off more parts of him and put him back underground, and then they would put him back in there with this. They wanted to torture him, right? That's it. Look at his Fallout gameplay. Like, this is what I'm talking about, though. Like, so, like, I don't know what you're talking about. Holy fuck! It was an IV of serum, though. It didn't look like food and water. Right, I'm gonna fucking light myself on fire. Like, that's what it is. It's a serum. That's would be what it is. So they explained it partially. If you think it's not enough to maintain, that's fine. But I imagine there would be some kind of nutrients in there. And they did say that they were purposely keeping him alive. Yes, so there you go.
Explain it, Shills. Explain it. And for the final scene of the episode, we're back in the past again, and we see that Cooper inspired the Vault Boy. Yes, even though the Vault Boy has blonde hair, no, it was Walton Goggins' character throwing up a thumbs up that inspired the Vault Boy.
Yeah, you want to know why? Probably because once they interpreted him as being a traitor, they probably wanted to make Vault Boy blonde to distance the Vault Boy away from this character here, Cooper, or whatever the fuck his name was. Oh, even though he's blonde, yeah, the Vault Boy's blonde and he was inspired by this guy. It makes no sense. Yes, it does, because they think he's a fucking traitor. That's why he lost his standing in Hollywood. So obviously, after this was his mascot, they would go, "Oh shit, we should probably make the mascot a blonde guy now to distance this character, the movie star, that is now shamed away from the brand." It makes sense. So.
Wow, what a great addition to the Fallout lore. All right, episode 3 gets a 4 out of 10. It was definitely better than the last one. I suppose if you turned off your brain completely and didn't care about the Fallout lore at all, it's kind of watchable, but it certainly isn't good by any metric. On to episode 4. This one is supposed to be all about...
Oh, yeah, Papa, the serum is just everything he needs mixed up, all up that happens to look exactly like the serum he needs. What the fuck are you talking about? You're confusing the shit out of me.
Lucy losing her innocence and seeing how horrific the wasteland is. It starts off with the Ghoul taking her to some other Ghoul guy who's about to turn feral.
And then they eat his butt.
and I'm just gonna call him Cooper for the rest of the show. The Ghoul is such a stupid fucking name. Cooper shoots him before he goes feral, and then starts eating him. He's not even feral, yet he'll fucking eat other ghouls. What the hell? But
Well, he's got to live, baby.
I guess I finally figured out why Zoomers like this show. He eats ass.
Come on, Volty.
Face.
Ass jerky don't make itself.
In the next scene, we see Lucy has gotten so thirsty that she's willing to drink irradiated water. And conveniently, Cooper starts to turn feral because he ran out of serum, I guess. So Lucy
Yeah, that's the plot point that drives the show forward. It shows the motivation as to why he's taking her to sell her.
makes a run for it, but he catches her with his lasso.
And then he cuts off her fucking finger, bro. It was crazy.
But then she ends up biting his finger off. And so to get even, he slices one of her fingers off, and she barely even reacts, dude. What is this terrible acting?
She reacts to it, but so just to be clear. Okay, just to be clear, she does react in a state of shock. Not everything needs to be explicit in your face, yelling and screaming for it to be real. I don't know if you guys ever watch Lord of the Rings? I remember I watched this. Fuck, what's the actor's name? It's coming to me. What's the actor's name? Saruman. Sauron? Who am I thinking of? Christopher Lee. That's it. Christopher Lee. There's a moment in one of the movies where he gets stabbed in the back, right? And the person, the director, wanted him to go, ah, and yell very loud. But this motherfucker was like a Secret Service agent. He's like, that's not what happens when you get stabbed in the back and like in the lung. You gasp. So this guy, again, we've established he needs overacting to understand what's happening in a scene because I don't know, there's something wrong with him. She gets her finger cut off and she's in a state of shock. That's what it is. It doesn't come off as unrealistic. It's just not what you were told was the reaction that's supposed to happen when you watch a TV show. It was a potentially, in my opinion, normal human reaction. Would everybody react the exact same way? I don't think so. But when you have a finger sliced off, and that's a state of shock, I don't think it's unrealistic to be in a state of shock. It doesn't come off as unrealistic. It's actually a very shocking moment. I didn't think that the show would take it that far in that way. So I was like, holy fuck, like, that was kind of fucking badass. So yeah.
And you guys say she's not a Mary Sue. Oh, and once again,
What? Oh, right, you're dumb.
I want to briefly talk about Vault 33 because Sweet Home Alabama ends up hooking up with the blonde chick after her husband died and she's pregnant with his child. And she ends up giving birth and Alabama raises another man's child.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's a very small encapsulated community. It makes sense that, and they were taught community values. It makes sense that he would step up. Plus, she wanted to fuck him. And he's like, damn, I want pussy. He's horny. He's a horny man. We've established that he's fucking his cousin. So actually, it all kind of makes sense.
Now I know why Redditors like this show.
Got it. You're the Redditor, just to be clear, but okay.
But before I start saying stuff that's going to get me banned, let's get back to Lucy and Cooper. He ends up delivering her to a super duper mart that functions as a organ harvesting clinic.
Yes.
As soon as she gets inside, he passes out. I guess that's part of the process of becoming feral now. And she ends up meeting a Mr. Handy, and she acts like she's never seen one before. I mean, I can understand her vault not having any of them, but really? She knows about power armor. Whatever. We get another kind of stupid scene where the Mr. Handy sews a rotting finger that was just sitting in a drawer for
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't understand that, but I don't. Okay.
who knows how long, not frozen, onto her hand, and it just works. Then the Mr. Handy rolls her out to the two owners of this legitimate business, and they're
I mean, you're not criticizing the shot that people take, like that. Well, maybe he did criticize the shot that makes people better. I don't know. But yeah, it's weird. It definitely was a weird moment that he just put a finger on there. I think it was just supposed to be kind of like weird. Yeah, sure. That's a criticism, I guess.
straight out of Idiocracy. There's no guards here, by the way, either. These guys own like more than a dozen slaves.
Well, they have a gun. They both have guns, but okay.
Yet they couldn't afford any raider guards or mercs or anything to that effect.
I guess, sure.
Paradise Falls from Fallout 3 had to have at least 20 slavers in there who were fully armed and competent. But, you know, in the Fallout TV show, it's just two retards in their robots.
Whoa, dude, relax.
Because, you know, no one would be smart enough to try and actually raid a place full of supplies. No, especially not after the NCR collapsed. There definitely wouldn't be raiders trying to get supplies, no.
Yeah, maybe this is a decent criticism. Sure, fine.
Oh, and it gets even dumber. When the Mr. Handy takes her to the surgery room, it doesn't sedate her, and she just kicks its fucking arm? A 90-pound woman kicked a robot's arm and then just rolled off of the bed.
I'm gonna be honest with that. Robot doesn't look very heavy, but thank you for the $2 from Dummy Durs. Hey, Wings of Redemption, love the stream. Keep it up. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Then she uses a defibrillator to shock the thing. Anyway, she rolls out the Mr. Handy to the...
Yeah, that was like an interesting scene. I thought it was a little weird. I guess I thought it was fine. You know that she was gonna have to get out of it somehow. So like, I was like, okay.
two idiots, they make a joke about her holding a air conditioner hostage. While they don't draw their guns, because she's clearly no threat to them, she reveals that she filled its hose with a Braxo cleaner, which is basically just supposed to be bleach, but the show acts like it's hydrochloric acid. Filled its hose with a Braxo cleaner, which is basically just supposed to be bleach.
Drano. Okay.
But the show acts like it's hydrochloric acid. Either way, she gets them to release all of the slaves, including feral ghouls, which, why the hell do they have feral ghouls as slaves?
Yeah, I wondered that too. I wonder if they'll actually tell us at some point. I was wondering if, like, how do they make the serum that, like, keeps the ghouls from not ghouling it out? I wonder what that is. Maybe that's why. I would imagine that's where it comes from, because if they have a bunch of ghouls locked up, and they sell a bunch of ghoul serum, then I would imagine that you get the ghoul serum from ghouls, but I don't know.
Don't even try to tell me that ghoul organs are good for something, and obviously you can't use feral ghouls for any slave labor. This doesn't make any sense.
I don't think that it doesn't make sense necessarily. We don't know. A lot of the show, and which is something I appreciate about the show, doesn't tell you everything that's going on all at once. So season 2, we might find out that the way that they get the ghoul serum is by feral ghouls. I don't know. I have no fucking idea whatsoever. I just don't know. We don't know. So hopefully we find out. That's the implication from what I see, because that's the only thing that they have. And there are a bunch of ghouls. So I'm assuming that they're stealing stuff from them, the serum. Maybe I'm wrong.
Did anyone watching the show use their brain at any moment? Whatever, the ghouls and the idiots manage to take each other out, except for one woman who's barely holding it together. Of course, she ends up going feral, and Lucy has to pick up the 10mm pistol.
Maybe they're using that as a guard. I don't know.
From Fallout. Make sure to get your replica in the Bethesda store. You know what's funny? There was a bot that actually tried to say this show was made with love because they made a replica 10mm pistol from Fallout 4. This isn't even the original design for the 10mm pistol. No, this is the Fallout 4 redesign. In fact, all of the iconic Fallout weapons.
It's interesting that he understands, like, the depths of the pistol lore, but he doesn't understand very simple concepts like the emotion that was invoked by saying that the water chip was broken. This is very interesting what he focuses on.
Are the Fallout 4 designs. And look, I realize this is completely subjective and up to
You think I'm wrong? I could be wrong about that. We don't know. We have no idea, because the ghoul serum is a new thing, which, by the way, now that I'm saying this, that might have been another motivation to implement this ghoul serum that keeps you from going feral. So that people who watch Fallout, or excuse me, played Fallout and have an understanding of the lore, have something new that they can latch onto, and something that makes them go, what the hell is that, you know?
Personal taste, but I just think the Fallout 4 gun designs are ugly. So as we just saw,
yeah, I mean, it could be it could be like their guard dogs. Oh, there's raiders here. Let's let all the fucking ghouls out. I don't know.
Lucy, who's totally not a Mary Sue girl boss,
she's not.
Single-handedly took out this organ harvesting operation and then gives Cooper a vial of the ghoul serum to save him. After she leaves, Cooper heads inside.
Yeah, I mean, she did that. Again, like you said, there probably should have been more guards. If there was, then things might have made more sense. However, it's possible that the ghouls were the guards. That being said, the two stoners that were sitting on the thing, idiots, it wasn't exactly a hot take that she was able to take them out. So she's not really a Mary Sue for being able to take out two legitimate fucking morons. But okay.
Inside and raids all of their supplies and watches one of his old cowboy movies. And I guess since he doesn't need the bounty from the Enclave guy's head anymore, he drops out of the plot for a while. And
well, he does a bunch of drugs, and then he passes out.
That's episode 4. Again, I'd probably have to give it another 4 out of 10. It was barely watchable.
Like, he just goes fucking full. He just goes drug addict mode. I don't know what the fuck was going on. But he's got a lot of trauma, I guess, from everything that happened, so it makes sense.
Again, the show is dumb as hell, but at the very least, Walton Goggins' acting is very entertaining to watch, but pretty much everything else about the show sucks. Now on to episode 5. The first scene in this episode is incredibly stupid. Maximus reveals to his squire that he's not in fact Titus.
Oh yeah, they were supposed to be protected by the government. Their version of the government. Yeah, sure. I mean, that's another aspect to it.
And so Maximus is like, listen, we got to get our story straight before we report back to the Brotherhood. But no, the squire guy is like, they're going to kill you. Why the hell would they kill him? Especially if he hadn't lied in the first place.
What?
But even though he did lie, he could just say that Titus died honorably in combat, and so he had to take up the power armor to finish the mission. Why?
But they wouldn't believe that for multiple reasons. One, they're still on the fence thinking that he shredded up his friend's leg. And two, which they just established at the end of the thing. And two, because he said that that the Maximus was dead. So now they're like, oh, he's lying again. So they're going to kill him. I'm so confused. I just have to restart this point.
To get our story stupid. Maximus reveals everything else about the show sucks. Now on to episode 5. The first scene in this episode is incredibly stupid. Maximus reveals to his squire that he's not in fact Titus, and so Maximus is like, listen, we got to get our story straight before we report back to the Brotherhood, but no, the Squire guy's like, they're gonna kill you. Why the hell would they kill him? Especially if,
yeah, I just explained why. But
if he hadn't lied in the first place.
He did lie in the first place.
But even though he did lie, he could just say that Titus died honorably in combat, and
right,
so
but that would be the second lie, so they wouldn't trust him.
he had to take up the power armor to finish the mission. Why would they kill him for that? They're not even supposed to be here in the West Coast. They were eliminated.
It doesn't matter if they would kill him for that. What matters is that they believe that they would kill him for that. And that makes sense. Again, they already didn't trust him. The first scene, like one of the scenes, not the first scene, one of the scenes in the first episode was them not trusting him about the leg, but they kind of let it slide. So, yeah, okay.
By the new California Republic. And by the end of New Vegas, even supposed, so he had to take up the power armor to finish the mission. Why would they kill him for that?
Okay.
They're not even supposed to be here in the West Coast. They were eliminated by the new California Republic. And by the end of New Vegas,
I guess they're back now. Okay.
depending on who you sided with, they were either absorbed into the NCR or wiped out completely by like all of the other factions. That's really something I should have mentioned in the first video, but my point is, it doesn't really make any sense to bring them back just to make them look this bad. Anyway, Max is being
I don't think they... How do they look bad? Okay.
clearly an evil psycho, stomps on the Squire's foot, crushing it, and it looked...
It doesn't make him an... It doesn't make him an evil psycho, but okay. Again, it makes him complicated. He confided in Thaddeus that it was actually him and not Titus, because he was starting to bond with Thaddeus, and then Thaddeus like, wait, this is fucked up. This is wrong. You did a bad thing. I'm going to tell on you, and you're going to get killed. And so he panics and crushes his leg. It doesn't make him look evil. It makes him look scared in a very turbulent world. But okay.
looks horribly mangled when they show it later. But he manages to get behind him and removes the fusion core from the power armor, which of course the showrunner's doing zero research. Think that you get locked inside the armor when it runs out of power. Can you imagine in Fallout 4 if when you ran out of fusion cores, you just got soft locked? And don't tell me that's just a gameplay mechanic. That makes no fucking sense. Even in the...
Actually, listen, I don't know the specific lore about taking the energy out of the power armor, but that may just be a gameplay mechanic, because you literally could not do that in a video game, soft lock somebody if they ran out of power in the armor. So, like, I'm not really, I don't really, that could possibly be a gameplay mechanic, you know, possibly, you know, right before your thing's gonna die. Well, this is the thing. There's also a difference between taking a core out and your core losing all of its power. I would imagine that when your core is about to lose power, it would open up and say, get the fuck out, you're about to die. If somebody takes it out of you, that could be different and be like, oh, well, the power's gone, we can't open up to let you out. There's also a manual release on the outside. There's also the understanding, it seems like they're part of it is like a traditional knight's armor, where it's really difficult to take off by yourself, possibly impossible depending on the armor. Do you depend on other Brotherhood members like a Squire, which is why they all have an issued Squire so that they can help, you know, maintain them. But okay.
Dystopian world of Fallout, you don't think someone would have brought up at some point that you get locked inside power armor if it runs out of power? Yeah, again, more bad writing and retcons, but no, the show never
I don't think it's really bad writing. I think it's interesting. I thought it was interesting, and it's like it actually invokes like a little bit of fear in the audience, the audience member, because you're like, what the fuck, this guy's going to die in his armor, you know?
It's the canon. The show never breaks canon. I'm not an AI chatbot, I swear. Anyway, the next morning, a bunch of rad roaches try to devour him alive, but Lucy just so happens to find him. Guys, how big is this wasteland? It's supposed to be 3 blocks? And yes, I know Lucy has a tracker on the head, but the Squire already left hours ago. What are the
yeah, that's true.
chances she would pass down the exact same path where the head was the previous night? Whatever, I guess I'm nitpicking again. So after a really long...
That might have been one of the more reasonable criticisms that you've made. What are you talking about, nitpicking?
Pointless conversation, Lucy decides to...
I mean, it makes sense that she might come across the path. If they're walking in a certain direction, the idea would be that, like, especially through a city, this might be the only, like, reasonable, safe path to go through, and maybe she passes through it as well. But, like, yeah, that might have been, like, again, these are that pedantic criticism. It was one of your only, like, decent criticisms.
Trust him. Maximus is, like, the one guy she should trust because...
I thought it was implied he used the key to remove the core and to lock the suit. Oh, maybe that's true, too. I don't really know.
He literally saved her life. But anyway, they decides to trust him. Maximus is, like, the one guy she should trust because... So after a really long, pointless conversation, Lucy decides to trust him. Maximus is like the one guy she should trust because he literally saved her life. But anyway,
yeah, well, she's like becoming graded by the society, so she's not as trusting now.
They start traveling together, and she asks him what happened in the last 200 years. And this idiot thought that when she mentioned the bombs falling, that she was referring to the nuke dropped on Shady Sands and not the world ending. So we've established
Why would he be an idiot for that?
That the Brotherhood of Steel is not only debatably evil now.
She doesn't know about that, and he does, and so like he just expects her to know about it because everybody knows about that, but she's sheltered. Okay.
But they don't even teach initiates basic history. Eventually, the pair come across two suspicious figures on a bridge, and Maximus, being smart for once, says we should draw our gun because we can't trust anyone, right? Because Lucy just told us that she doesn't trust people anymore, right? No, this fucking dumb bitch doesn't want to draw our gun, and oh, big shock, they turn out to be fiends. Yes, they're trying to throw.
Yeah, again, this is her conflicting on the inside of
a bone to New Vegas fans after shitting down their throat multiple times. And one of the fiends gets a shot off on Maximus. He loaded a rotten tooth into his gun, which I'm not even going to get into that, but whatever. The point is he gets injured because Lucy's an idiot. Then next up, we finally get to the biggest fuck you in the entire show, where we see the giant crater where Shady Sands used to be. It was populated with 34,000 people. And as they reveal in the later scene, it looks like they basically restored civilization back to the wasteland, just like I said in my review of episode 1. And like I mentioned in the intro, this is not where Shady Sands is located. Shady Sands is not in LA. It's like at least 100 miles outside of it.
But that doesn't really matter, does it, if you think about it? So Shady Sands was a little fucking like bum town. It was a very small like trading post town in the original Fallout. It's quite possible that they just went to a more habitable area and they decided to call it Shady Sands as like an homage to their small little passerby town that was effectively just 4 walls and like 4 buildings. It wasn't really anything particularly robust. It's not really hard to explain potentially from like a lore perspective. And at least that's in the first game. I don't know what Shady Sands looks like in other games, but I don't think it's like the hottest take. I mean, Shady Sands wasn't a massive fucking thriving city in the first Fallout. It was a shit town. So that's possible. That doesn't really matter.
They could have looked this shit up on the wiki, man. There's no excuse. They didn't do any research.
I don't think that that's necessarily true, but okay.
Todd Howard hates what Fallout's really about, and that's a post-apocalypse where humanity is trying to rebuild after the world ended. And by the time of Fallout New Vegas, they succeeded. The new California Republic dominated the state. They effectively brought the old world America back, though arguably even more corrupt. And it was...
In Fallout 2, they turned it into a city? Okay. All right. Let's see. Then that might be it. Fallout 2 Shady Sands. Okay. I mean, again, it could be a retcon. That could be something to criticize. What the fuck? This isn't even a city. What the hell are you talking about? It's like fucking... this is nothing. But okay, maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe they moved it for brevity purposes. I feel like it's like... I mean, again, the issue is that they decided to say that it was canon. I don't think it really matters. They should have just said it wasn't canon and just had like a follow alongside universe, but okay.
Starting to fall apart at the time of New Vegas. If you paid attention to the dialogue from a lot of the characters, especially Caesar, a big part of his motivation with the Legion was seeing the gradual decline of the NCR. But instead of seeing that happen naturally due to the results of the second battle of Hoover Dam, no, Bethesda just fucking nuked it back to square one. Somehow,
yeah, I'm sure they did a lot of research. It's just a TV show. Yeah, again, I don't think I don't think it matters where exactly Shady Sands is. I don't think it necessarily matters. It seems like a retcon, possibly. Okay. Like, it was still entertaining in and of itself. This would be just like a broad issue with like the rest of the story.
Destroying the capital city wiped out an entire empire across the state. Why did Bethesda do this? Well, a lot of people speculate it's because of the long-running rumor that they hate Fallout New Vegas. Because they didn't make it, Obsidian did. And a lot of the people who worked on Fallout New Vegas worked on Fallout 1 and 2. And so, of course, to know...
I think a lot of the people who worked on the show writing it, though, I mean, okay, I don't know. Maybe, sure. Everybody... It sounds like this guy really wants... it sounds like this guy's a New Vegas fan, and he really wants to be a victim. So... I guess that's what it is. He's the most oppressed class, which is gamers.
Oh, and surprise, the original creators of the series did a much better job than the hacks at Bethesda. And Fallout New Vegas is still considered by most to be the greatest game in the series. So Bethesda has been butthurt about this for over a decade, and this show was finally their opportunity to say fuck you to all the real fans of Fallout. That's exactly what happened, and that is why I fucking despise the people who like this show.
Exactly, dude. This show is actually very good, but you're right, man. You're the victim.
Fallout died with Fallout 4, and this is just pissing on the corpse. In the last couple scenes of the show, Lucy and Maximus take refuge inside of...
I don't think that Fallout 4, my understanding, isn't really that bad. It just doesn't have as many choices as other Fallout games, which is something that people criticize that a lot.
Vault 4, and it's another vault that has somehow managed to survive over 200 years. Do the writers even understand the appeal of the vaults in the Fallout games? What? Discovering the horrendous experiments that either killed or mutated everyone inside is one of the most fun parts of those games.
Okay, and this is one of those places where they were able to stop the experiments. That's why it's survived.
And while it's obvious that some experiments went down here, they subvert your expectations. I'll put it at that. And that's the
Yeah, they subvert your expectations. So when you this vault, it's like an interesting character development part. Lucy wants to stay, Maximus wants to leave. Or Lucy wants Maximus to stay. I don't remember the specifics. But anyway, then you find out that they have this really fucked up secret thing underground where they have like all these experimental people on. It's like, oh my God, they were experimenting on people, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that they actually had gotten themselves free from an experimental process, yada, 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 right? That's the whole thing. I don't think you could shorthand it too much. Again, it was an experimental vault. They overthrew the people who were doing experiments. They took it over for themselves, and they were just trying to help the people that were downstairs that had been experimented on into having like not horrible lives. But yeah, okay.
end of episode 5. I can't really give this a real rating because I skipped about half the episode, since about half of it was the Vault 33 subplot. And I will say,
what? You just didn't watch it?
that half of the episode was definitely better, but showing where Shady Sands got nuked is such a massive
You skipped half the episode? What?
obvious that some experiments went down here. They subvert your expectations. I'll put it at that. And that's the end of episode 5. I can't really give this a real rating because I skipped about half the episode, since
This guy didn't finish the whole season. He doesn't actually know what happened. He admittedly didn't watch the whole thing. How are you going to skip half the episode? And like, if you skipped half of episode 5, that means to me, you probably didn't watch all of the rest of the episodes or all of the beginning episodes, and you phoned it in very quickly. He admits that he didn't watch the show. Why are you giving us your perspective on something that you didn't watch? I don't understand. This guy's a fucking weirdo. He just didn't watch the show. Okay.
since about half of it was the Vault 33 subplot. And I will say that half of the episode was definitely better, but showing where Shady Sands got nuked is such a massive fuck you to the real fans of Fallout that I can't really rate this in good faith. It ruins the entire series.
Why? Why does it ruin the series that they got nuked?
Massive fuck you. And I will say that half of the episode was definitely better, but showing where Shady Sands got nuked is such a massive fuck you to the real fans of Fallout.
Why is it a massive fuck you that Shady Sands got nuked? I don't understand.
That I can't really rate this in good faith. It ruins the entire series.
How does it ruin the series that it gets nuked? I don't understand that. Like you said, war never changes. So wouldn't that make sense that they would create a facility and then it would get nuked? Like, that's life never changes, baby, you know?
Episode 6 begins with another flashback, showing Cooper Howard advertising for the vaults. He's then approached by an executive named Bud, and they start talking about T-45 power armor, and apparently now there's a new fatal flaw with the armor that has never come up before. Definitely not a retcon. The show never breaks the canon, as the bots say. And of course...
I'm not understanding. Like, we knew about the flaw for a while. I mean, I'm assuming the flaw didn't exist in the games. Oh, okay. I don't think it's a big deal for them to take a liberty and say that there was a flaw in the design of the armor that like was able to be taken advantage of, which is something that made him distrust some corporations because he fought in the war. All right. Of
course, this is foreshadowing for one of the dumbest scenes in the show in the finale. We'll get to that later. Okay. I also want to point out that the T-51 is never mentioned in the show. In fact, did you know that China is never mentioned by name in the show? They only ever refer to them as the Reds.
Okay, who cares?
Gee, do you think that's a coincidence?
I don't think it matters. Why is that something that resonates with you?
Actually, to the morons who like the show, yeah, they probably do think it is. Anyway, this Corpo guy is incredibly obnoxious. The only reason he exists is a setup for a later twist, which is also stupid. The next scene is a corporate party at Cooper's house, and we get to meet the voice of Cogsworth and all the Mr.
Hell yeah, dude. I like that guy. He's cool. I watched the Darkness show. I have to finish it. I'm almost done with it, and I stopped. I have a habit of that.
Then they talk about communists for a while, and we get quite possibly the dumbest theme of the show that keeps getting pushed from this point forward, that you can make a massive profit off of the end of the world. Now,
yeah, that's not a dumb idea. Does this guy not like buy things? Do you not understand how advertising works? If you're selling the product of the end of the world, if you're selling any product, you need to make sure people think they need the product. How do you do that? Well, if you're selling vaults for people to live in, you need to actually have a nuclear threat be maintained to continue to sell the vaults. Now, I will say, if they nuke the whole world, there's no money left to be had. But, like, yeah, the general sentiment makes sense.
Now, if you don't take this literally, there is an argument to be made that you can make a lot of money off of selling the apocalypse, especially if you're a gun store. But that's not what they're going for. They are very literal with this, as you'll see later. Then,
what? But the gun store would be the exact same thing, no?
In the next scene, we see a couple sheriffs have captured Cooper, and they say they work for the government. Now, I thought this might be a setup for the Enclave to come back, but no, this is a complete nothing burger, as you'll see later in this episode.
Yeah, they're like a washed-up group. They established that as well.
Now we're back.
And that girl, MacGyver or whatever, Moldover, is, you know, overshadowing them.
Back to Lucy and Maximus again in Vault 4. I'm going to very briefly sum up everything that happens in this vault because it's complete filler. You could cut this entire part of the show out and lose nothing of value. But
I don't think it's filler. I think it's lore establishment. Because it establishes that Maximus actually wants to live in a vault. He originally didn't trust the people, but then he's like, wow, vault life is great. This is what I want to do with my life. I no longer want to be a Brotherhood of Steel. I want to just run away with Lucy, get some of that puss, because they also had, like, this is probably one of the funniest scenes was when, like, she was like, you want to fuck? And he's like, what? We're not supposed to fuck because my penis will explode and I'll die. Something along those lines. And then you find out that, like, the Brotherhood of Steel is, like, this weirdly, like, they're very weird about sex, too, which is, like, a funny scene. But then it establishes the motivation of, like, wow, like, vault life is pretty cool. I think I would like to go and live with them and live in a vault. I want to go back with Lucy the Vault. That's my new motivation. That's my new drive for life. So it's for you to say it's just filler and this establishes nothing. It's like you just don't, again, you don't understand. You just don't understand any of the narratives. He was right, but it wasn't. But the implication of what he was saying is that his penis would explode and die forever. Okay.
But first, I have to show you quite possibly the worst dialogue I've ever seen in a TV show.
You want to have sex?
You mean use my cock?
Yeah.
I don't know. That weird thing could happen.
What weird thing?
Well, it's just for some guys, not me. But for some guys, you know, when they make it move, it gets all big and hard like a big pimple, and then it pops. And they say it can happen to anybody, but it's gross.
The Brotherhood of Steel.
Are you talking about? That was one of the greatest moments in the show. What are you talking about? I liked that Lucy was a horny fucking slut sometimes. I was funny. It was, like, very real. Because, like, some women like fucking. She was horny as hell. She wanted to fuck that first raider. Thankfully, and this is something I liked about the show a lot, she didn't act like a fucking trauma victim after she had sex with the raider. Right? I don't know why they didn't just scan them with their Pip Boys to see if they were radiated, though. That one doesn't really make sense. There's another plot hole. But, like, that made sense to me. That was funny. That was an interesting scene. I thought that was silly. But my understanding is that the Fallout universe is, like, a very well-written story with a lot of humorous elements in there, to, like, sprinkled in there. It's got, like, that Star Wars a little bit, some silly little goosery going on. That was one of them. Like, it's just like a silly moment in the show. She finally feels comfortable again. She's like, you want to have sex? Because she's fucking horny. And he's a decent looking guy. But, you know, you should bring up the marriage statistics, I think, Synthetic Man, because that's very important to bring up marriage statistics from our current culture and insert that into a post-apocalyptic world where people don't care about race anymore, but they are racist to ghouls. They have a new thing to focus on, which is very real and makes sense. I forget what the term is, but there's, like, a term of people always focusing on, like, differences. So once one difference is satisfied, they'll focus on, like, a new difference, right? But okay.
Doesn't teach kids about sex. This is what I'm saying. They're obviously supposed to be evangelical Christians who are probably also racist. This is
what the fuck is the racist shit? Like, yes, they seem, the Brotherhood of Steel, who would have thought is, like, it kind of seems like a religious institution. Again, morally gray, not bad. The church, I think, can be morally gray. In some instances, they did do a lot of child rape. So, yeah, that's not exactly non-canonical. But, yeah, it's a funny moment, and it makes sense, and it gives you a little bit of a look more into the life of Titus. You never consider that. And then he's like, my penis coming is bad. And you're like, holy shit, like, this guy has a different relationship with the world. You get more of an idea of what the Brotherhood is about. So
this is so fucking transparent. Bethesda is so stupid that they let this go through. Okay, anyway, as for the Vault 4 plot, long story short, we get to see the infamous...
It's called the Brotherhood. Anytime somebody's called, like, the Brotherhood, there's religious implications there, generally speaking. Like, what are you talking about?
Chalkboard that explains what happened to the NCR. Shady Sands mysteriously fell, quote-unquote, in 2277, and this has been confirmed by Todd Howard himself, that this is not the nuke being showed in the chalkboard. No, of course, the nuke dropped at an unknown date. That's not written on the chalkboard. And
okay.
This is totally
a little element of mystery.
Intentional because, you know, every other point on the chalkboard has a year next to it, but not the nuke, right? No one knows when the nuke dropped because the show has to be canon, which means that it couldn't have dropped in 2277 because obviously every goddamn NCR soldier in New Vegas in 2281 would have fucking mentioned their capital getting nuked. So
okay. Cool.
No, mysteriously, sometime in the 2280s, Shady Sands got nuked, but before that, they quote-unquote fell. Even though, again, not a single NPC in New Vegas describes Shady Sands having fallen, especially not, Caesar, the guy who monologues about how the NCR is slowly becoming more corrupt and collapsing. No, he wouldn't talk about Shady Sands falling. No. It's almost like all the people defending this didn't play the game.
Maybe. This could be a decent criticism if it wasn't riddled with a bunch of, like, idiot bullshit. It sounds like your real criticism of this show could have been like 5 minutes long. Yeah, this wasn't canon. This didn't seem canon. This didn't seem canon. There you go. Instead, most of this is about how terrible the show is. It's not.
Whatever. Anyway, I gotta move on. So, of course, the residents of this vault, at least some of them, are...
Papa, is a consensus among Fallout New Vegas purists is that they are extremely cringe, so the criticism is standard sprinkled in with racism. Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. Papa, it is consensus among Fallout New Vegas purists that they are extremely cringe, so this criticism is standard sprinkled in with racism from... okay. So he's just like a weird purist of the game. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Mutants. The Overseer has one eye. Whatever. Anyway, I gotta move on. So, of course, the residents of this vault, at least some of them, are mutants. The Overseer has one eye. There's a guy with a
because they were getting experimented on.
nose on his forehead. Of course, nobody ever brings it up because they have to build the tension like they're gonna get captured and experimented on.
Lucy literally kind of brings it up, and she gets a little scared of it.
Well, actually, no. They completely subvert your...
And actually, in this, you find out that the mold... This is one of the things, too. There's a weird ritual that goes on in this where they worship that Moldover character. And this is one of those moments that establishes, at least to me, and I think other people will feel the same way, that Moldover is it might be kind of fucking weird, and she might also be morally gray. They could have done more to establish she's a morally gray character. She does go into a vault and murder a bunch of people. And then she also has people doing fucking blood rituals to her. So, like, this is how it's like, okay, is the Brotherhood all bad? They show more bad from the Brotherhood, but they show that Moldover and her crew also have some weird shit going on. That was one of the... So, again, that episode going into the vault established that as well. Because they do some weird fucking blood ritual.
Expectations. As it turns out, the original residents of the vault were mega evil Nazi scientists who did the weirdest experiments ever, including making a woman give birth to baby gulpers, who then devour her alive. But eventually, the lab rats rose up and killed all the evil scientists, and now they just accept surface dwellers into their vault. And these surface dwellers have now become cultists for Moldaver. They worship her as some kind of god or some shit, and this is never followed up on, by the way. And as it turns out, Moldaver...
No, I think it just exists to establish that Moldaver is not perfect and that she's also a morally great character.
is actually from the past, and they don't explain that either.
They don't explain that. The implication is that she hitched a ride in some capacity in like a time-saving vault like everybody else did, like she got frozen. I don't know specifically. We don't know. Again, this is something I generally like about the show. It doesn't force feed you every bit of information that exists. It doesn't need to. There is the implication, though, that like she may have figured out like that technology as well. She was probably rich because she had a counter political narrative. So she probably was able to freeze herself, go into the future in some capacity. We're not going to the future, but you understand what I'm saying. Freeze herself like they did in Vault 31. And that's how she got there. But they didn't explain it. They might explain it in season 2, right? This way, you know, that would be what people would want to see.
And I know what you're going to say, and we'll get to that. But there's no reason why she would have been one of the people.
I think it was just a fake out because these, it was like, these vault dwellers are some weird evil, doing some weird evil blood ritual, but they are the nicest people ever. That might be true too. That might be it. I personally looked at it as more information contributing to that Moldover is not the perfect morally good character and that there are some morally gray areas there.
People who was preserved. So this stupid waste of time subplot that adds nothing to the story ends with Maximus stealing their fusion core, possibly killing all of them, getting in his power armor, beating the shit out of people for no reason except for humor, and then when they
it was funny.
leave, Lucy convinces him to give them back the fusion core so they don't all die. And this is over the course of 2 episodes. They fucking wasted the audience's time so hard with this one.
I don't think that's true. Again, I enjoyed the episodes.
Anyway, back to episode 6. Next scene, we get yet another flashback where we learn that Cooper's wife is just straight up evil. Not only do they not allow dogs in the vault for seemingly no reason, but she...
Oh my god, bro. You did... Bro, they don't allow dogs in the vault because they said it was a waste of resources and that they would rather use that for people than a fucking dog. Seemingly no reason. They explain the entire thing in this... Okay.
She also emotionally manipulates him into believing that she's the victim for him going off to war and possibly dying, experiencing untold horrors. He probably has PTSD.
I mean, I don't remember exactly that, but I don't remember her saying that, but maybe she did. It doesn't really matter. It is very stressful as anybody, man or woman, that goes into the military and leaves their family back home for both parties. It's probably more stressful for the people who have to fight a war, but it's still stressful for the people who have to, keep things together while they're gone. So I don't know. I guess you just don't understand that human moment.
But no, she's the victim because she had to wonder if he would come back home alive. Are you fucking kidding me? This is Hillary Clinton all over again.
Okay, you don't understand life apparently, but okay.
Back to the present, we get
it's emotional manipulation. She's not emotionally manipulating him. She's telling a truth. You just don't understand the truth. And like any military person will tell you that it's very stressful on their family. So like they're not going to. But okay.
Another kind of pointless scene, admittedly it was cool at least, where Cooper is taken in front of the president, who's basically just a warlord who decided to call himself the president because he wants to restore law to the waste again. And Cooper sews his finger back on. I guess ghouls can just heal without radiation now. Cooper ends up taking responsibility for shutting down the organ harvesting operation and also admits to killing multiple people in Philly.
Yeah, so I wonder why he didn't say that it was Lucy who did it. I wonder what the motivation was. I'm assuming that they're trying to put in there that he doesn't want to put her in harm's way because of what she did, and almost that he's returning a favor to her, and he's starting to humanize again after 200 years of being a ghoul. So he's gaining his humanity back slowly, which starts with a dog, which makes sense because he has like an affinity for dogs, which is established in his past because he's like one of his motivations is he wants to bring the dog with him. And then he starts to like this girl, but then part of it too is because he's like, oh, it's her last name. Oh shit, I want to go meet the guy again. You know.
I'm assuming this is so they don't find out about the chip in the Enclave scientist's head. So then we get a kind of cool scene straight out of a Western where he kills both of the sheriffs. Then over the course of 2 different flashbacks, we get to see that Moldaver not only is from the past and survived all the way to the present with no explanation. No, she wasn't frozen. Not only that—
You don't know that she wasn't frozen. How do you know she wasn't frozen? Just because you say no, she wasn't frozen doesn't change anything. What do you mean? No, she wasn't frozen. Why? How do you know that she wasn't frozen? Maybe she was frozen too. Like, why couldn't she have been frozen?
Yeah, but she was the leader of a company that was discovering how to create cold fusion, an unlimited energy source, which of course Vault-Tec bought her out because obviously capitalists don't want to end the resource war. And
yeah, that would make perfect sense to me. Like, it's oil companies now that are pushing back against alternative fuel sources because they want to maintain like their financial superiority. This is like a very normal thing. Capitalism, I like capitalism. I think it's a good thing. I think capitalism does better to organically and naturally shift based on certain parameters in a market that it can't be done with a complete government-controlled system. But that doesn't mean that there aren't bad aspects to capitalism, especially uncontrolled capitalism. And this is one of them. And it's so funny because the fucking idiot government in the show gave infinite power to Vault-Tec. So one of the criticisms here isn't even just capitalism. It's a fucking moron government that allows too much power for that corporation. Okay.
And yeah, that's episode 6. I told it largely out of order, but that's because 6 and 7 might as well have been a big 2-parter. So I'm not going to rate this one. Let's just go to episode 7. At the start of episode 7, we see 2 prospectors wearing NCR Veteran Ranger armor. And no, they don't explain it. This is purely just a visual reference to try and appease New Vegas fans. Not to mention, that's like the cheapest looking costume probably in this whole show. I've seen cosplays better than that. At least the scene becomes cool afterward as the ghoul is waiting for them.
There's Eric Estrada, baby. Chips. Another cameo. The cameos were fun.
Cooper explains he killed the guy's older son, but the bullet hole in the letter landed perfectly on the spot.
Oh, that makes sense too. He needed to follow her to find her dad so he could find his wife. That makes sense too. So maybe he cut her loose to let her run. That actually makes a lot of sense. I didn't think about that. Kind of like let her go. He didn't want her to get hurt because he wanted to find her again. And then he might need her. Okay, maybe.
Pointing to where Moldaver is located. So he threatens to kill the other son if he isn't given location, and, well, he does end up killing him. So even though he didn't end up getting the location, I still thought it was a pretty entertaining scene. In a later scene, we find—
Wait, what? I thought what?
Located. So fun, but the bullet hole in the letter landed perfectly on the spot, pointing to where Moldaver is located. So he threatens to kill the other son if he isn't given location, and, well, he does end up killing him. So even though he didn't end up getting the location,
I could have swore he got the location. I think I'm pretty sure you're wrong about that. It's been a couple weeks since I watched this. I'm pretty sure he got the location, and I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure he got the location and then said, "Oh, are you going to come after me in the future to try to kill me?" And the guy goes, "Or are you going to do it now?" And the guy reaches for the gun and then he shoots the guy. Pretty sure he got the location. Pretty sure you're wrong about that 100%. Am I wrong? I feel like I'm right. I feel like this is another instance of this guy not have actually watching it. He got the location. Yeah, he got the location.
If he isn't given location, and, well, he does end up killing him. So even though he didn't end up getting the location,
Dude, you got so much shit wrong. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, the kid said the observatory. Oh, there you go. Right, and then she was in the observatory. Incredible. That's how he found it. Wow, this guy did not watch the fucking show. Holy shit. Okay. Okay.
I still thought it was a pretty entertaining scene. In a later scene, we finally get a follow-up on the head situation. The squire's foot is horribly mangled, so he's probably going to die, and this piece of shit decides to lock up Dog Meat in a Nuka-Cola cooler. What the fuck? I thought they were trying to make this character sympathetic. Then in a much later
Well, he was being annoyed by the dog, and the dog kept bothering him. It was weird that the dog was so okay with it, though.
scene, he comes across
Like it was easy to do it.
the snake oil salesman that was saved in episode 2, which
Which he was trying to fuck chickens.
I'm not even sure if I even mentioned that in this review, but who gives a shit? The point is, the guy has a magical serum that gives the guy magical regeneration powers. And in a later scene, they imply he's turning into a ghoul. Why didn't they just make it the forced evolutionary virus? Again, I brought this up earlier, but there's no super mutants in this show. But if that was a vial of FEV, that would have made perfect sense why his foot regenerated.
It would have been too much for people who are new to like the Fallout world to engage in like another new thing. And it is implied that he turns into a ghoul, but it's possible that maybe he doesn't. Maybe we'll find something different. Maybe it'll actually be a mutating serum and we'll see something different in the next season. We don't know yet.
Turning into a ghoul doesn't make any. I don't know, whatever. This whole part was stupid. Moving on. Eventually, Cooper just...
He also gave him the fucking power core to save his leg. So that was another thing you kind of glossed over.
so happens to come across the red rocket so he could...
Or did he say it?
Generation powers and shit. The point is, the guy has a magical serum that gives the guy magical regeneration powers. And in a later scene, they imply he's turning into a ghoul. Why didn't they just make it the forced evolutionary virus? Again, I brought this up earlier, but there's no super mutants in this show. But if that was a vial of FEV, that would have made perfect sense. Why
It might have been. We don't know.
his foot regenerated? Him turning into a ghoul doesn't make any. I don't know, whatever. This whole part was stupid. Moving on. Eventually, Cooper just so happens to come across the red rocket so he could save Dogmeat. Over hundreds of miles of wasteland he could have explored. He somehow knew exactly where to go to find Dogmeat and save him. And then
Well, he didn't go there to find him and save him. He just happened to cross him. Sure, fine. I guess a criticism. I did. This seems pedantic.
we get possibly the most Borderlands scene of the entire show, where Lucy and Maximus finally catch up to the Squire. He shoots at them and misses every fucking shot, which they just turn into a joke. Then he steps over a tripwire trap that shoots a crossbow bolt into his neck, and he lives. And this is the part where they imply, oh, he's turning into a ghoul, because now
Yes, that is the point.
you can only kill ghouls by shooting them in the head, not a retcon though. And then the dude just hands over the head. Doesn't matter if Maximus tried to kill him multiple times, and now they're buddies now. And Max
That's not what happens. It's exhausting. That's not what happens. It's implied that he's a ghoul, and he thinks because I'm a ghoul, the Brotherhood's now going to kill me. So Maximus said, hey, give me the head, you run away, I'll distract them. Because now Thaddeus is like, well, I can't be part of the Brotherhood, so he loses that entire identity for himself, and he wants to live. That's his number one priority, which it is for pretty much everybody. Except for emo people, am I right? So he runs. He doesn't just give him the head. Like, dude, there's no way that you get the interpretation so wrong.
part where they imply, oh, he's turning into a ghoul, because now you can only kill ghouls by shooting them in the head,
Holy
not a
fuck.
retcon though. And then the dude just hands over the head. Doesn't matter if Maximus tried to kill him multiple times. And
Just to be clear, I'm assuming it's established in Fallout lore that you have to take a certain amount of damage before you die. And yet, the humans will die from human injuries. So, retcon, guys. Guys, you don't actually have HP in the show? Retconned. In the Fallout world, everybody has HP. Idiot. It's just that the durability is higher for them. It's not exactly the craziest thing in the entire world. This is the first show adaptation of this, by my understanding. At least the first mainstream show. So, obviously, things are going to be different. There's not going to be any HP for anybody. There's going to be different durabilities based on if you're a human versus if you're a fucking ghoul or super mutant. It's not really exactly a huge retcon to be like, well, he's a ghoul now, he got shot in the neck, but he didn't die because he's different. But okay, cool stuff.
not a retcon though. And then the dude just hands over the head. Doesn't matter if Maximus tried to kill him multiple times, and now they're buddies now. And Maximus now decides he's going to betray the Brotherhood for seemingly no reason, and so he gives Lucy the real head, and he takes...
Well, there is not seemingly no reason. You decided that the episode when they go into Vault 2, I don't remember what it is, was a waste. It wasn't. Maximus has a new motivation for life. He doesn't want to be part of the Brotherhood anymore. He finds it to be a little fucked up and crazy, but he wants to be with Lucy in the vault. So his motivation has changed to try to protect Lucy and go back to her vault and be with her. But since you didn't watch the episode, I'm assuming, and you just skipped through it, you don't understand that that's like his motivations have changed. Okay.
takes a smashed up head back to them with no...
That pussy. is that motivation, baby.
Plan. And then we get the most unintentionally funny moment in the show. Our two heroes kiss. I can't even fucking say it. I can't even get it out, guys. I'm losing my fucking mind. This could be my new reaction.
This guy's stupid. Holy fucking, it just shoot his gun.
Just tried to kill him multiple, and so he gives Lucy the real show. Takes a smashed up head back to them with no plan. And then we get the most unintentionally funny moment in the show.
This guy's, you're about to see a moment that's unintentionally funny. When they kiss each other and then the heads, the decapitated heads also kiss. They wanted that to be serious. Just to be according to him.
Our two heroes kiss. I can't even fucking say it. I can't even get it out, guys. I'm losing my fucking mind. This could be my new reaction image every time I see propaganda.
This is supposed to be a funny moment. This is a comedian. What is his name, like Fred Armstrong or something? Am I right about that? What's the unintentionally funny part?
Okay, I've calmed down. And yeah, before I get banned, let's just wrap this up.
That was the unintentional funny scene when the comedian made a silly face as they kissed and made the two decapitated heads kiss. That was unintentionally funny. Dude, this is embarrassing for this guy. Wow. I just want to hear that one more time.
Get it out, guys. Oh, our two heroes kiss. I can't even fucking say it. I can't even get it out, guys. Takes a smashed up head back to them with no plan. And then we get the most unintentionally funny moment in the show.
Guys, this is unintentionally funny.
Our two heroes kiss. I can't even fucking say it. I can't even get it out, guys. I'm losing my fucking mind.
This is embarrassing for you, brother.
And this could be my new reaction image every time I see propaganda.
What propaganda? Okay. Oh, because a black and a white person are kissing. Got it.
Okay, I've calmed down. And yeah, before I get banned, let's just...
That was obviously a very fake laugh that you put on, by the way. People can tell that was like weird, that was like weird, sweaty Mountain Dew blood laughing. This is so funny, guys, right? You sound like a fucking sand person. Not the racist kind. The Star Wars kind. Incredible.
Wrap this up. Episode 7 actually ends with a scene in Vault 33, but like I said, we'll cover that whole subplot at the beginning of the next episode. All right, I will rate episode 6 and 7 as a pair since they're pretty much linked in all their plots.
It's crazy because all the episodes are linked in their plots. I don't know if you know that. It's a fucking show. It's the same show.
I'd give them a 5, even though
I'm assuming he means like a subplot, but
they definitely still shit on the lore. These were probably the two most watchable episodes where you could just kind of turn your brain off and be vaguely entertained by what's going on.
You turned your brain off for the entire show. You don't seem to understand a singular fucking thing that you're engaging with.
Again, still not good. I feel like people's standards for television are incredibly low.
This show was good.
Would actually like this show because these are probably the two best.
I have some extraordinarily, I would say pretty high standards for shows. Like I turn shows off because I just get bored of them if I think that they're bad. This was one of the better shows that I've seen in like a long time. It's pretty good. It was pretty good. I liked it a lot. Like my wife liked it too. It had like a lot of range, so.
Episodes and they're just mediocre at best. Okay, with episode 8, I will finally wrap back around to the Vault 33 subplot and briefly sum up everything that happens. Like I said, for a while, this was the most interesting part of the show. We get to see Big Schnoz slowly unravel the mystery of what the experiment was at this tri-vault system. We see that...
That's not what happens. Just to be clear. Okay, I know I'm being very nitpicky. I just want to listen to that again.
Big Schnoz slowly unravel the mystery of what the experiment was at this
So when you say what the experiment was, it implies that he understands that there's an experiment. He's just trying to unravel the mystery of what the fuck is going on. And he finds out that it is an experiment. I know it's a small little criticism, but I feel like the nitpick is valid. Thank you for the $5, Seth.
A vault system. We see that the residents of Vault 32 all killed each other years before the raiders got to that vault. And of course they sow the mystery of, okay, what did they figure out about Vault 31 that caused them to all kill each other? And so Big Schnoz does some digging. Despite being the manlet nerd chud guy, he actually has more courage than anyone else, which I actually really like that. He's probably the most likable character in the show.
Wow, you said that he was a coward in episode 1 though.
What I don't like is his cousin being...
But then you realize, wait a minute. Character development exists.
Being a cuckold and raising another man's child. And the blonde chick is from Vault 31, so she's one of the traitor people. And speaking of which, Big Schnoz finds out that all of the people who were elected overseer in Vault 32 and 33 were from Vault 31.
Which doesn't explain to me why wouldn't they know about Vault 32 in the first place, being destroyed. So it makes no sense to me.
And I find this very interesting given the type...
I messed with the super chat. Oops, how stupid is this video compared to the last one you made? This one's, I don't know. One's probably just as bad.
People who like this show think that the 2020 election was the most secure in history, of course.
Oh, Lord. All right. We got a lot of conspiracy theories going on.
But honestly, what I find even more interesting was the chosen number of 33.
This guy's such a fucking weirdo. This guy's identity is being like anti-woke. Like, I hate fucking woke people. This guy is, I hate him just as much. He's anti-woke. He's just no to everything mainstream. Like, that's the problem with people like this, is they think that they're really unique because they're against like what the general societal narrative is. So they just say the opposite. And they're like, I'm not a sheep. Everything opposite of what they say. That's not okay. That's just who you are, man. Okay, yeah, big sneako red pill energy. Exactly.
Those of you who are into conspiracy theories will know that number is associated with Freemasons.
Sorry, what? What happened?
20 election was the most secure in history, of course. But honestly, what I find even more interesting was the chosen number of 33. Those of you who are into conspiracy theories will know
I'm not, because I'm not a fucking psychopath.
that number is associated with Freemasons. And that was definitely intentional, as you'll see with the twist in Vault 31. So anyway, somehow, all of Vault 32 is seemingly cleaned up overnight, and residents of Vault 33 are to be moved back into 32 so that they can restore life to it.
Wait, sorry, what?
As you'll see with the twist in Vault, residents of Vault 33 are to be moved back in. How all of Vault 32 is seemingly cleaned up overnight.
Yeah, they cleaned it up pretty quickly, sure.
And residents of Vault 33 are to be moved back into 32 so that they can restore life to it, and
Sure.
the experiment in the vaults can continue. Eventually, Big Schnoz hacks in.
Yeah, and the experiment is like they're gonna have the fucking people from 31 be the overseers. That's a pretty simple experiment.
To the overseer's computer and tries to communicate with 31 and is let inside. And the big twist that we discover is that the corpo guy, Bud Askin from the past, is now a brain on top of a Roomba.
Yep. It was very silly.
Are you fucking kidding me? This is Borderlands. This is not Fallout. This is Borderlands. Whatever. Anyway, so
Okay. I also forgot to mention that the experiment is Eugene's program to create the perfect managers for the future. That legitimately sounds like satire. LOL. The plan seems to have failed, judging by the clearly dysgenic residents of Vault 33. What? Okay. I don't know that, like, okay.
So the big twist is
sorry, I'm burnt out.
that these vaults have not been operating for 200 years. They've been bringing people from the past out of cryostasis. Yes, this is another vault as cryogenic freezing. No, that wasn't just an experiment in Vault 111. No, apparently it's also in Vault 31. So Lucy's dad turns
Yeah, they were using them to become the overseers.
out to also be from the past. That's all the Vault 33 subplot was leading toward. What a fucking disappointment. Anyway, back to episode 8. We see Maximus getting interrogated by the Brotherhood of Steel. No, they don't bring up that he impersonated Knight Titus.
Yes, they do. They do bring it up. They're literally holding him at gunpoint because they're like, "Oh, you're a traitor. You lied again." And then this is when the trans person is like, "I hurt myself." Because like I said, it was a compounding lack of trust. They still believe to an extent that they cut their own leg up, but they still gave him a shot. Then Knight Titus is gone, and he gets back, and they're like, okay, we're going to kill this motherfucker. They literally are about to kill this motherfucker, but he's like, no, I can help you. And then the trans person says, no, I cut my own leg up to reduce the suspicion, which, by the way, was true. I kind of hoped that it was just they were lying. But that's what are you talking about? So they do bring it up. They're about to kill him. What?
Plot point completely forgotten by the
It's not completely forgotten by any writers. What?
writers. But they do discover it's the wrong head, obviously. And he's about to be executed, but then the she-man saves him by admitting that she placed the trap in her own boot.
It wasn't just that person, the she-man. Okay. She's just a child. Yeah. Okay. And he's like, you still need me. Give me another chance.
God, I hate this show. Anyway, so now we get to the big climax, where the Brotherhood of Steel flies over to Moldaver and her band of raiders / ex-NCR members, and the battle looks really fucking stupid. I know some of you are going to think, oh, this is cool.
I thought it looked fine.
Dude, there's a Brotherhood of Steel guy in power armor with no gun who just, like, slaps dudes and slams them into a table. It's fucking dumb, dude.
Gotta save those bullets, baby.
And it only gets dumber, because, of course, Cooper follows them all the way here, and he makes a comment about a fatal flaw with T-45 power armor, and he wonders if T-60 fixed the flaw. Of course it didn't. So he just shoots them all in the weak spot and kills them instantly.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, it makes sense that there would be a flaw in the armor. Second of all, it doesn't seem to be a very widely known flaw necessarily. And third of all, it actually allows this character that we like a lot to actually be able to kill people in that power armor. Because if he couldn't, then there would be the show. It would be cringe. Also, there are melee builds. If we're gonna be fucking Fallout purists, and you're gonna be like, oh, that's just a part of the show. No, there's melee build people that use power armor, brother. He's just melee build. He had all his stats in fucking unarmed. Gotcha, baby. That's canon.
This show's so dumb, it's unreal. This is basically a Marvel movie. No, actually, that's an insult to Marvel movies. This is a DC movie climax. But believe it or not, it actually gets worse, because Lucy is also here, and she learns that her dad is the one who nuked Shady Sands. Okay. And they explain this with one final flashback, where we get to see a meeting between all the
Well, I don't think it was her dad necessarily. It was like that organization he worked for, though.
executives of the mega corporations. They have their own Illuminati.
Yeah, the guy was alive for 200 years and fought in a war. Why can't he be competent? Yeah, who would have thought?
Essentially right here. And of course, Cooper's wife represents Vault-Tec.
Well, don't you believe in the Illuminati? You're a fucking conspiracy theorist.
And she suggests to everyone that they should nuke America first because they can make a profit off of the apocalypse. Guys, that
Kind of based.
might just be the dumbest plot point I have ever heard in any television show.
I looked at it and thought that it was kind of a shaky plot point. I was like, it's a little weird because it makes sense for them to want to keep people afraid that something's going to happen. But going that far, wouldn't that like lead to the end of the world? And then what money could they make once the world is over? So that could be a reasonable criticism. Overall, though, I think it's just still done pretty well. It's still the fundamental aspect of it makes sense to continue the fears of the war going on. But yeah, that takes it a little too far, in my opinion. Sure.
Communists literally do not understand basic economics, supply and demand. You're telling me you want to kill off 99.999% of your customer base.
Well, I don't think that they assumed that all of them would die, but yeah.
And you somehow think you're going to make a profit. They've established Vault-Tec is
I guess you could argue that like they didn't care about money as much as they care about power, but I'm not sure how much I believe that.
$1 trillion company in the show. They don't explain what they sell. We might as well just say they're Amazon.
Well, they do explain what they sell. They sell the fucking vaults. What are you talking about? What?
Established 99% of your customer base, and you somehow think you're going to make a profit. They've established Vault-Tec is $1 trillion company in the show. They don't explain what they sell.
Are you like disabled? I don't understand. What?
99.999% of your customer base, and you somehow think you're going to make a profit. They've established Vault-Tec is $1 trillion company in the show. They don't explain what they sell.
What do you mean they don't explain what they sell? They're called Vault-Tec. They sell vaults. They literally explain that they have an exclusive contract with the government to sell vaults and vault technology. Holy fuck, you're actually, dude, you're making me want to say a fucking slur, brother. What the fuck? Are you stupid? Are you fucking dumb? They don't explain what a Vault-Tec sells? Holy shit. Oh my god. Maybe they also sell the Pip-Boy? I mean, that was literally their version of a fucking iPhone on their arms that people were getting addicted to. Okay. Good job, man. You definitely watched the full show. I mean, it has to be clear to everybody now that he did not watch the whole show. Right? He didn't watch the show. Wow. Incredible.
We might as well just say they're Amazon, and that's honestly a better headcanon than anything else you could explain. They also retcon Mr. House and make him to be an idiot.
Oh yeah, I remember him. He also will use a cane and be mean to people in the hospitals.
He says that he's not even sure the bombs will drop. When in New Vegas, it's established he knew it would happen. That's why he set up defenses to shoot down nukes. That's why New Vegas is in such great condition.
Sorry.
Idiot. He says, better headcanon than anything else you could explain. They also retcon Mr. House and make him to be an idiot. He says that he's not even sure the bombs will drop. When in New Vegas, it's established he knew it would happen. That's why he set up defenses to shoot down nukes. That's why.
So just to be clear, I don't know. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and say I know the Vault lore incredibly well. You're telling me in New Vegas, which takes place in whatever time period, right? Okay. Hold on. I don't know. Listen, I'm just going to... Okay. So here, what if this is what happened? I don't know if this happened. But let's say he didn't know the nukes were going to be dropped. Then he had a meeting where they're like, we're going to drop some nukes. And then he was like, oh my God, now I know that nukes are going to be dropped. Let me add some technology to my town. Okay. I mean, does that make sense to anyone else? Maybe it's just me. Okay.
That's why New Vegas is in such great condition compared to every other major city in the United States. So again, didn't do any basic fucking research, but it doesn't break canon though. It doesn't.
I think that you have an actual mental disability. No, I actually just think that you didn't watch the show. I mean, this is fucking incredible. This almost makes me offended. Like, how the fuck is this? Oh, okay. You are extraordinarily fucking stupid, man. I mean, this is crazy. This is like next levels of unintelligence. This is fucking crazy.
Break canon though. And man, they make this black woman so cartoonishly evil. On top of wanting to genocide the human race.
What?
She straight up says to the other
They make everybody evil. They're all evil in that room.
executives of these companies.
Why does her blackness matter? And if anything, the fact that she's black would be refreshing because there are some annoying shows that don't make any fucking people of color bad guys. And sometimes it's annoying. But they made this person a bad guy and she's black. Why the fuck are you so focused on race, by the way? You're such a weirdo.
That you can have some vaults and run whatever experiments you want in them. And that's how they explain all the crazy shit that goes down in the vaults. Holy fuck. You can't defend this scene.
I mean, it kind of makes sense, but okay.
It's too stupid. It doesn't work on any level.
It's hard to agree with you because you have no idea what you're talking about for everything else. So when you make a potential point, it comes off as dog shit.
Doesn't pass basic logic. Anyway, back to the present, we learn what Moldaver's grand plan was. The Enclave scientists stole the...
Just to be clear, that was 200 years ago, so...
formula, code, whatever, the thing that activates cold fusion, giving the wasteland unlimited energy. So yes, she was a good guy all along. It also turns out she's a lesbian and was in love with Lucy's mom.
Yeah. It's a little weird that she keeps her around like that.
And also, she keeps her around as a ghoul, dude. This bitch is a psycho. So like I said before, Lucy's dad nuked Shady Sands because that would have been competition for Vault Tech. Guys, I seriously can't take the show anymore. It was so painful to watch it up until this point.
I mean, that does kind of make sense that they didn't want competition, but okay.
So whatever, let's wrap this up really quick. So Lucy's dad ends up escaping, gets the power armor,
Yeah, Walter Goggins' character lets him escape because he wants to find his wife and daughter that he thinks are still like alive and like frozen. So he lets the guy get away so that he can track him.
Moldaver is bleeding out, so our heroes decide to follow him out into the unknown. The Brotherhood of Steel obviously captures Cold Fusion, so now they have unlimited power on the West Coast.
Yeah, which is going to be a fun, when the season 2 comes out, we're going to see a whole new dynamic. And we're probably going to see Maximus and Lucy end up becoming enemies when they don't want to be, which is going to be interesting.
He's playing Moldaver. You really thought that one through, you fucking idiot bitch. And the
Well, I don't think that she planned on dying.
show ends with Lucy's dad coming across Vegas, and it's dead. They killed Vegas too. I've seen some
What? That looks like it might still be going.
copium from people who weren't fucking paying attention, probably because they're bots.
You literally did not pay attention to anything you watched, but okay.
But
Oh my god, they're bots. This guy's actually out of fucking control.
you can clearly see the wall has been breached. The power is off. I guess after the events of New Vegas,
Okay.
the tunnelers overran everything and killed everybody, or maybe the
Maybe they did. Didn't you say it was a falling town? I don't care. They have vaults there.
Legion blew up Hoover Dam. Actually, I doubt the Legion will even get mentioned in Season 2 because they're too problematic. But yeah, they destroyed New Vegas.
Okay, I'm sure that was an annoying comment.
As if they didn't shit down the fans' throats hard enough. So yeah.
I mean, this would be in the future, right? So let's see. When does Fallout New Vegas take place? 2281. Okay. When does the Amazon Fallout take place? 2296. Okay, 15 years later. Oh, maybe it fell into 15 years. Okay.
Is there any point to having a real conclusion? I'm sure this video already dragged on way too long. You know exactly what I think of it. If this was non-canon, it would just be mediocre slop that doesn't even make...
If this was non-canon, that would solve every single problem that was ever had, because it makes sense that they would take liberties with the show. The fact that it's established canon can make some of the aspects of it frustrating, because that means that they're supposed to follow the lore better. That's the only criticism that you really have. I made a criticism earlier about how it was like inconsistent, about how they got into Vault 32 and the people in Vault 33 didn't know about it, because you'd think that there would be communication between 31, 2, and 3. But outside of that, like, yeah, this show is pretty... But he didn't touch on that issue. Like, he didn't touch on that, which in my opinion was a huge plot issue, but okay.
Makes sense on its own. There's multiple major plot holes, extreme conveniences, and just plain old bad dialogue, bad writing.
No, disagree.
Pro-communist propaganda that doesn't even make sense on a basic level.
There's no pro-communist propaganda. The fact that the communist character might have been right here doesn't mean that the character was good, right? Pure capitalism and pure communism are all dog shit in every single form. You need to make sure that you have regulated capitalism to succeed. That's why the best countries in the world are capitalists, but have regulated capitalism, right? Were the communists in this case good guys? Yeah, sure, because the capitalist individuals were so bad. They're so fucking stupid. that it got to that extreme capitalism where they were destroying the world for more power, right? So the communist character becomes good by comparison. But like, I don't think that the show is trying to make a point that communism is good. It's just a complicated show. So, okay. Is Moldaver even a communist, or were they just calling them communists as an insult? Because I don't even think that she was a communist. I mean, I guess because she wanted to give away free energy to people, but I don't think that makes you communist. I think that just makes you American, baby. If we had free energy here that we could give away that like created itself, like why would you have to monetize that? I don't think that she's a communist. Like, I think like there's a difference between, hey, I want to give everybody energy for free versus, hey, we have energy that creates itself for free. Let's give that to everybody. I'm pretty sure it's just propaganda against her, right? Because like you have to charge money for electricity because it takes resources to create electricity. You have to have like particular power plants and you have to have people who work and service it. Right? But if you had a magical donut, if you took a cat and you tied the cat to a piece of bread and it spun infinitely, it doesn't take a lot of infrastructure to upkeep that, so you give that away to people for virtually free. So I'm pretty sure all the communist shit is just I'm pretty sure there was no communists in this show. It was just them using communist as a slur, because that's what we did a lot like back in the day, and we do it today still. Like, hey, we should have some kind of like organized healthcare. No, that's fucking socialism. That's communism. It's like, okay, well, we spend a tremendous amounts of money on our healthcare. It would cost us less if we implemented some kind of a system, and it would be really good for the American worker, because then they wouldn't be locked into their jobs. They could leave their jobs and move to a new job and not lose their insurance. But, obviously, this person's focus isn't the people. It's hating communism. By the way, communism bad. So is pure capitalism. But, okay.
Some of the most diverse casting I have ever seen, and I believe there's 4 interracial couples in this show.
Who cares? Who fucking cares, dude?
As well. Not to mention Lucy is arguably a Mary Sue, and there's plenty of women.
She's not arguably a Mary Sue. Only an idiot would argue that.
Women in positions of power. They made a
what?
black woman as well. Not to mention Lucy is arguably a Mary Sue, and there's plenty of women in positions of power. They made.
Is that supposed to be bad that they put women in positions of power? All the women that were put in positions of power in the show were capable. Because that's another thing too, and a lot of the men were capable too. Here's one of the things that bothers me, is that shows will say there. Sometimes I will see. I felt like this was like when I watched the Captain Marvel thing, but maybe I'm wrong about that. But there are some times where instead of establishing a strong female character in a movie or a show, they will make all the male characters around them incompetent, and that bothers the shit out of me. But you had. The male characters in the show were all competent. Not all of them. Not everybody has to be competent, but they were competent. So they didn't make Lucy look like look good because all the males were bad. They made her look good alongside of other male characters. Why does it matter though that there are women that were in power? What does that matter? Why is that bad?
A black woman, not only like the lead executive of Vault Tech, but also a genocidal maniac. So were leftists the real racists all along? That's certainly worse than anything I would ever write. But
what are you talking about? No, but this is the thing, is that you're focusing on her being black. Like nobody gives a shit that she's black. Yeah, they're really racist for making a black woman a bad person. Yeah, I don't know if you know this, but black people can be just as bad as white people. That's again, like it's like I'm happy that they made the bad guys also diverse. We didn't have to just see all evil white men. We got to see evil black women too. It was fine. It was diverse in the correct way. Then it might be considered propaganda if they only had white men as the bad guys. But they had black women, white women as bad people, probably black guys somewhere in there. I don't even fucking remember, Like that one bitch with the eye patch, with the eye patch in Vault 31. But that's insinuated that she's a bad guy. Right? Because she's part of Vault 31. The black woman that was the overseer at the time, she's part of Vault 31 too. Oh my God. What the fuck is this guy talking about? This guy's an idiot.
But really, the worst thing of all is that it just craps all over the original games. And if that doesn't bother you, then you're not a fan of Fallout, period.
You're right, dude. Be a Fallout purist, brother. I stand with you.
The fact that there are a bunch of huge YouTubers shilling this show, including one guy famous for mentioning The Message, yet he never brings it up when talking about this show. I don't know.
Who the fuck are you talking about? What is The Message? What is The Message? According what is the message? Oh, what? It's got to be something fucking racist or something. What is the message? What the fuck? Oh my god. What is he talking about? You know what? Maybe I don't want to know.
I have to name him. You know,
Is he talking about Critical Drinker?
exactly who it is. Completely sold out, dude. A lot of the people you thought were
Sold out? Okay.
based, red-pilled, right-wing, whatever. No, they're just grifters.
It sounds like you have to hate everything with black people in it in order to be part of this guy's space. So, cool.
In this video, I want to throw another shout out toward the Archcast and Kretosis for being very critical of this show. Another shout out to V for mentioning me in his video.
Shout out to everybody who agrees with me. You're a fucking idiot. Just to be clear, this guy is one of the stupidest people I've ever engaged, I've ever seen on YouTube. Like, this is actually fucking impressive. He didn't watch the whole show. He didn't know basic plot points. I'm not saying I got everything right, but this guy was extraordinarily unfair. He was never going to make a fair rundown of it because he didn't actually watch the full show.
And anybody else who proved that they have critical thinking skills.
You didn't watch the show. You didn't even know what Voltex sold. You didn't even understand what product Voltex sold, and you're telling people that they don't have fucking critical thinking skills? You don't have fucking elementary school thinking skills. What are you talking about? What the fuck?
And they're not being paid to shill a fucking Amazon show. Even if we don't see eye to eye politically on a lot of things, because I'm self-aware enough to know my views are pretty extreme, but...
Your views are... You're a stupid person. I have conservatives in my family. They're smart. You're just dumb. Not because you're conservative. You're just dumb. You're as dumb as the guy who lit himself on fire for fucking Palestine. You are that fucking stupid. You are a fucking idiot.
Important thing is, we all stand together in gatekeeping Fallout from the fucking normies who want to destroy everything because they don't give a flying fuck.
It sounds like you are somebody that has nothing in your life other than Fallout. Like, your entire life centralizes around Fallout. Like, you literally have no actual meaningful relationships or experiences outside of, like, the real world. So anything that's not what you think is perfect, you hate. But also, there were interracial couples in the Fallout franchise, so...
They're completely mindless consumers. They do not care about the franchise, about the characters, about the lore, about the story, or even the basic themes. You will never...
Yeah, I'm a full-blown racist. I guess I'm pretty extreme.
...be a fan of Fallout if you like this show.
Okay, man. That's cool for you, brother. You did a good job. I'm happy that you feel good about what you made.